Doctor Who Hit or Miss podcast. Slight musical intro there, which might be giving you a hint to the episode we'll be reviewing later. Welcome back. This, as per usual, I am joined by the lead host, who's taking co-host duties today at Few Game Shows, aka Mr. Will.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Mike.
Good to see you guys. And we are joined by a very special guest this week. You'll have heard him on The Chase. If you haven't, you should go back and watch because they were very entertaining. So please give a big hand and welcome Xander to the podcast.
Hello.
Hello.
Woo, welcome. Welcome. So, I didn't call you anything.
No, it's an ongoing gag. Never mind. Don't worry.
Was that an attempt at a bad joke?
No, I was just referencing what Ian said to him in The Chase. As you
okay,
yes.
Of course. Yeah. See, and I was just about to insult other people for not watching it, but I have seen them, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned earlier, but we'll just make sure your microphone's loud, because the live that we recorded yesterday, you were very low on, so just make sure we can hear you.
I've set some filters up today, because I was on top volume and you were on bottom volume. Yeah, I still came out low. I think it was just, but we did drop out about 10 minutes before we actually ended it. I don't know if you know, but it ends abruptly, so I think OBS was just having some connectivity issues yesterday.
Possibly.
So yeah, it was on my end.
We'll wait and see. I've got Craig recording as backup, but I don't think I can be bothered to constantly keep on reactivating it if it shuts down, which it's been doing lately. So let me know if you need it, but otherwise I'm just going to leave it if it goes off. Apologies for all the technical talk. We're back with another episode of Hit or Miss podcast. This episode will be going out at a time when everyone's starting to feel very festive, no doubt. But we are going to be doing the podcast the way that we will be, that you should be used to by now. So it will be broken down into essentially 3 sections. The first section will be the On This Day section. The second section will be Hit or Miss, where we discuss things in the Doctor Who universe and whether they're a hit or a miss, and I get overshadowed by my soundboard. And the third section will be our episode review, which, in case you didn't hear the live and get the hint from the music earlier, was going to be a Doctor Who Christmas special. So yeah, as Craig disconnects, I'm not even going to bother turning him back on. Clearly it doesn't work.
No, we have to rely on OBS. Fun.
Yeah, let's just hope OBS works. I'm sure it'll be fine, yeah. I'll have to look into alternatives because this thing's just completely wrecked. But anyhow, without further ado, I'm going to throw over to Will, who's going to lead us through the On This Day section.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. I am Ian the Chocolate, so I'll stop that for now. The On This Day section.
Yeah, so that covers the On This Day section, I assume. So we'll move on to the next section, which is Hit or Miss, where we will shoot out 10 things from the Doctor Who universe, and we will give our opinion on whether it's a hit or a miss, and then elaborate, hopefully not for too long, because it tends to get carried away. But the way that we do it is that when Will gives whatever the subject is, the guest will answer first. So Xander, you just give whether you think it's a hit or a miss. Then I'll chime in with my soundboard, and then Will can say whether he thinks it's a hit or a miss, because he obviously would know in advance. We don't get to know these in advance, so only Will knows what they're going to be, so we haven't prepared, so that it's very much like first impressions and everything. So
I think he's listened to the podcast before.
Take it away.
I think he's sounds like you've listened to some episodes before, haven't you?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Brilliant. So you get the concept.
It could always be somebody's first episode, you know.
True. Don't go back to episode 1. That's a clanger of an episode, as Mike will say. So the hit or miss section. You said the audio was bad in some of the first ones, so I'm taking your word for it.
But I still think that we were excellent. We're always excellent.
No, that's
People
what I'm saying.
always listen to us.
The episodes are good, so do go back and listen to them. So first one, we have the 10th Doctor's TARDIS interior. Definitely not
definite hit. Definite hit.
Awesome.
As the 11th Doctor put it, is the Doctor's grunge phase. So I'm not going to say much more than that.
Isn't it the same as the 9th Doctor's TARDIS?
I think it's pretty much the same.
He literally nicked it. He nicked everything from Chris.
It's brighter. It's definitely brighter.
I'm sure it was the same, but okay.
No. If you Google it, it's a big difference.
Okay, I hadn't realised, but I'll take your word for that then. That's
okay.
Cool. So is that you're not going to need to elaborate any further then, Xander? Hit or miss? Big hit. Awesome. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say. Oops, nothing because I have my volume turned down. So first of all, I'll turn that back up. What a fool I am.
That is the biggest Christmas hit since East 17's Stay Another Day.
There you go. I'm saying hit. I don't know if you can hear that, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, you would do because you're the 10th Doctor fan, aren't you? Wow, it's a great TARDIS as well, but would that be your favourite TARDIS interior?
Probably not quite. I like the kind of organic look of it, but I really do love you're probably going to tell me there's a difference, but they look the same to me. The one that Matt Smith gets at the end of his tenure that then becomes Capaldi's interior is probably my favourite from the new series, at least.
Because in Series 8, Deep Breath, or one of those episodes, he kind of says, Clara comes into the TARDIS and says, "Oh, you've decorated," and I was like, has he? It looks the same to me.
Yeah.
I think it was just the
it's
added
very
bookcases,
similar,
maybe. Yeah, there's the roundels.
Yeah, he says I should put more books in.
Right, so it must be the bookshelf. So okay. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure on that, but thanks for filling me in. Next up, oh wow, I will also go for a soft hit. I do prefer the 11th Doctor's, and also I like the retro a bit more, but this TARDIS, I was watching Rise of the Cybermen a couple of days ago, as you know, if you've seen the tweet, and it kind of opens the crate at the bottom, and then it kind of goes into the underneath to get the little cell, and I think it explored the TARDIS a tiny little bit more, and it's kind of, I just like the aesthetic of it. It's a very pretty TARDIS. Next up, we have another Tennant-related one, the Christmas Invasion.
Xander?
Well, for me, this was obviously the first special I watched as a young Doctor Who fan. First ever one I watched. Now as a 20-year-old teen, hit. Good special, good music, good acting, general hit.
Great. Mike?
Interesting. Okay, and I will again say, oops. Oh.
That is the biggest Christmas hit since East 17's Stay Another Day.
There we go. Yeah, I actually really like that episode. I wasn't sure I was going to, because obviously it doesn't feature the Doctor for a long time of it. But even watching it back, I think it's just structured really well. It's a really cool episode, and yeah, it's not going to win any polls for the best Christmas special or get 10 out of 10s or anything. But I really like it.
I disagree though, because I rewatched it recently and I really enjoy it. It would probably be in my top 2, maybe top 3 Christmas specials, maybe even number 1. I really enjoy it. I don't see many criticisms other than the Doctor doesn't appear in much of it, and I kind of think Tennant comes into his own when he actually wakes up in the scenes where
completely, I give you that.
Yeah. I give this a big old hit. Next up, I'm going by the list Andrew sent me because he wants me to name some special ones.
Oh, okay.
We have.
Yes, there should. Hopefully, there'll be a really big fan of Doctor Who listening to this, and I had a few suggestions sent in advance.
Okay.
For some stuff. So.
Well, I don't know what's coming, but it makes me the only one probably.
Okay, next up we have Sarah Jane Smith.
Oh, come on.
Big hit.
Xander?
Big hit.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Come on, if anybody in the world says Miss the Lion, well, they're not a real fan. They can get out.
They just haven't seen her episodes, I'm sure. Yeah, she's so superb, and I'm so thankful they gave her a
people who haven't
spin-off.
seen the Sorry, yeah, I was going to say, people who haven't seen the classics would have seen her appearances in New Who and the spin-off.
Exactly,
I don't think you'd find anybody that's like, oh, I don't like anything she's done. You know?
Yeah.
But no, she's fantastic. She's, I mean, there's a reason she keeps winning the poll for best companion.
Next we have The Runaway Bride.
Okay. Xander?
Runaway Bride for me is a bit of a step down from Christmas Invasion. Yes, it introduces Donna, so we have the lovely Donna in that. But it's just a bit of a step down from Christmas Invasion, but it's still a hit. It's just not as strong as the previous special.
Yep, I can back that. Michael?
Well, I am going to go ahead and disagree and say
Absolutely fantastic.
I really like The Runaway Bride. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it might actually, in my estimation, be slightly above the Christmas Invasion.
Wow.
In fact, yeah, looking back, I think it might be. It's not. There's not that much in it, but I do think The Runaway Bride. To be honest, though, I think that I'm weird, so I think the Christmas specials, although the Christmas Invasion was already a really high level, I think they gradually got better for those first few. So I think Runaway Bride's a little better, and I think Voyage of the Damned's better again. And then I really love The Next Doctor, even though it's not that popular.
Wow. Okay, for The Runaway Bride, I'd probably give it a soft hit. It's very middle of the ground. I'd probably give it like a 6.5, 6 out of 10 maybe. It's not the strongest episode. I think the Christmas Invasion is definitely stronger.
Well,
Yeah, you've got a gloomy 10 because he's just lost Rose, and it's like, oh, I've got this new companion, but I've just lost Rose. And
he's not really gloomy in that episode, though. I think there's enough kind of upbeat and bounce and stuff to it, and then at least when it
True,
goes...
there's the scene with the top when Donna's in the TARDIS and she goes,
just
"Who's
thinking about
next?"
that.
He goes,
Yeah.
"That's my friends."
That's like a 3-second scene, though.
but
That's
and
not...
also-
I mean,
and
It's still there, though. He doesn't show it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like he's crying on the inside.
Exactly, and when they're
yeah,
on
but
the
it
top
feeds
of the
into the
building,
kind of end scene, doesn't it?
no, they're kind of sitting down on the top of the building, and they're still talking about Rose, about how he saw Rose last Christmas, and then it just glooms on for that for about 30 seconds. And I know 30 seconds doesn't seem like a long time, but it is in an episode of Doctor
Not in an hour-long episode, it isn't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, the
But it
"Oh, I
happens a
Miss
couple
Rose"
times.
leaks into the next series.
Yeah, I was
with
gonna say,
Martha being the
series
second
3.
best.
I think it's way more egregious at the start of season 3 in Smith and Jones Shakespeare Code and Gridlock. It got
Yeah.
really annoying.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think he goes on until the episode 42. When even in 42, that's the episode that he gives him the TARDIS key, and I think that's the episode that established her as his companion. Yet, that's like about 8-9 episodes in, and it's too long. Maybe even longer than that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the whole one trip promise, and then it just leaks into 7 episodes, and then it's like,
it's
oh, just
ridiculous,
as the
yeah.
companion now.
I really like series 3. I think it's like a consistently good / very good series, but that arc just annoys me. I don't know about Mike because he enjoys the era, but Mike, what are your thoughts on series 3 out of interest?
Series 3 is...
We'll make this the next hit. We'll make this the next hit or
Okay.
miss.
So your hit or miss is for Series 3, then?
Series 3, why not?
That's going to be... Hang on. I'm going to have to think about that, because I'm pretty much middle of the ground, so... let me try and think of what I don't... See, I think that... Yeah, well, okay. Xander, you go first, and then I'll chime in.
So this is hit or miss series 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's a hit because I remember when I remember when the 3-part finale happened, Utopia Sound of Drums lasted Time Lords. Again, I was only 7 at the time. And the fact that they revealed the Master back, to me, was brilliant because I'd never seen Classic Who by that point. I was like, who's the Master? I only know the Doctor. That's it. To me, the whole series is good. There's not one bad episode in Series 3. Maybe Lazarus is a bit meh. But in my opinion, Series 3, I can hear the groaning. Here we go.
Yeah.
No, it's just...
Now you know how I feel.
Let the hate flow through you.
No, okay, fair enough. First of all, let me just say that I love that you've adapted the title into Yorkshire, so it became Last at Time Lords, which is now just the only way I'll refer to it now from now on. Eva Gum, Doctor. I'm Last at Time Lords. Master, don't die. Oh dear. So, do you want my quick thoughts then on Series 3?
Which episodes do you like then? Come on, Michael. Come on, Mike.
Okay, well, let me just first of all say...
That is the biggest miss since the decision to put Doctor Who on New Year's Day.
How?
I actually pressed the wrong button. But, I pressed the wrong button.
That's your cop-out answer because of our reactions, isn't it?
No, I genuinely did press the wrong button. What I meant to press was...
Okay.
That is a slight hit, like receiving a festive pair of socks. They're great, but Daleks have no feet, Karen.
That may be the best one so far.
Thank you. No, I think it's a hit because there's a lot. The highs are so high in Series 3. Like, it's got Human Nature and Family of Blood, which I adore, as you'll know if you've listened. I do think Blink is slightly overrated, but it's still good. But I think it's just because we've had it drummed in, like, this is the best episode ever. It's not. It's not even in my top 10 New Who episodes. It's solid.
It would definitely be in my top 20, top 25, but definitely not in the top 10.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my point. But yeah, in terms of like saying there's not a bad episode, that's where I kind of disagree. Because I don't like the Dalek two-parter in that season.
I thought you were going to say that. Yeah.
I hate the Lazarus Experiment with a passion, and I don't like the finale two-parter to that season. I like Utopia, but I think the two parts following it are really shoddy.
Yeah. Oh, I can definitely see the criticisms, but overall, I think it's a really strong story. You've got strong stories like Smith and Jones, Shakespeare Code, Gridlock. Those three to start the series are so strong, and then you've got 42, Human Nature, The Family of Blood, Blink, Utopia. These are all good / very good stories, and I think overall it would be a big hit for me. Even though I do disagree. Oh no, I do agree with you, especially in Last of the Time Lords. That episode, to give it the finale, wasn't the strongest, and I think that was probably RTD's weakest finale.
Yeah, I think it's weird because 2 out of the 3 two-parters I think are bad in that season, so it kind of colours your opinion. But then when you mention it like that, it's like, no, those are really the worst, other than Lazarus Experiment. So it's only really 5 episodes that I'd say are a miss. So overall, obviously, it is still a bigger hit than perhaps I gave it credit for. So.
Okay, if that's 3 hits, next one, The Next Doctor.
Xander?
I don't like the Cyber Shades. They're awful.
Right.
Jackson Lake, David Morrissey, good actor. I mean, I like him in Walking Dead 2 years later, but...
very good actor,
yeah. Next up for me is a bit of a miss. And in fact, it's my weakest of the 2009 specials. Hey, you hate sound of drums, so here comes my warpath. It's the weakest of the specials.
I've been waiting for this.
Dead was better. We got the Cybermen. They've fallen out of the void in Victorian London.
Yes.
What? How?
I don't think it's the weakest. I do disagree in the sense that I don't think it's bad, and I'm sure Mike will agree with this. It's not the weakest. Mike,
well, you know my thoughts. I'll jump in and say...
Absolutely fantastic.
I love it. I love the Victorian setting. That's kind of, it fits the Christmas theme without being a complete copy. I love the Cybermen. I don't mind. I quite like the Cyber Shades. I like the Cyber King, even though it's cheesy as flip, but it's Christmas Day. What the heck? You know, why not? I love Dervla Kerwin in that episode. I think she's fantastic. I think Neil Morrissey's brilliant. I like the kind of mystery plot of it. So, you know, why does this guy think he's the Doctor, and then the reveal of why, and the info stamps and things. Yeah, I can't really think of that much in the episode that I dislike, and I just remember, even though I can acknowledge that I know some people don't like it, I always just have a complete blast every time I watch it. I think it's excellent. So
all I'm going to say, right, is I'm going to use that same tactic about it's Christmas is a bit of fun if you do criticise the shocks later in the episode review.
Get ready then.
Oh, great. But if you can accept a massive robotic structure walking across London, then you can accept a flying shark.
Well, at least the Cybermen are part of the episode for a reason.
The story was centered around a fish and a bomb. But we'll get onto it. We'll get onto it.
Why?
We'll get onto it.
We'll get onto that.
Yeah, we'll get onto that. I do agree. I have to side with Mike here, surprisingly, on this episode, because I do disagree with you, Xander, that it's not a bad episode. It may be the weakest of the specials. I'm looking at the specials now.
Not.
And if I was to pick a weakest episode, it's going to be Mike's favourite episode, Last Christmas.
Ah, what? That's
I agree with you. Last Christmas was pants.
No.
Yes. Christmas should have been the last appearance of
Christmas,
Clara.
Mike.
She should have left, and we should have had a new companion for Series 9.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Leave this planet and never return.
Merry Christmas, Mike.
Shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, shut it up.
Should have really picked the 12th Doctor one for that, but yeah.
Oh dear. But yeah, like I said, it's not as
First
weak
Christmas
as
special,
the
but
last-
Capaldi,
yeah.
and it flopped. It absolutely
It was
flopped.
brilliant. It was a lot of people's favourite ever, including mine.
Nope.
Just saying.
Nope.
It's the tangerine. I just can't get it. Why is there a tangerine? Oh, of course, Santa Claus likes
The hell
tangerines.
was a tangerine?
In the Christmas invasion.
It's the Christmas reference. You people won't know because you're all too young, but in the
Wow.
olden days,
Yes,
that's what you always had in the bottom of your
tangerines.
stocking.
Yes, I know. I'm not that
You get
young.
all those presents, and then at the bottom of everything, there's always one stupid Satsuma.
Silly old Satsuma. Yeah, it's true.
Next up is Not All. As you can sense, it's a very modern-centric era of this episode. But yeah, Not All. Again, from
Go on,
Xander.
Xander.
I'm having to be careful because, again, the fan who's watching this loves Nardole. He's okay at moments. He's a very, very funny. Matt Lucas is a funny actor. Don't get me wrong, because I love Little Britain. Until they pulled it off Netflix. But,
No, it's the worst thing in the world. No, none of your views are valid anymore. That is trash.
Come on, Xander, you gotta come back
He's
to
a
that.
very, very funny character. I don't get the whole concept that the Doctor rebuilt Nardole for the pilot. Because it's like, oh, I got your parts cheap at a bazaar. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, I like Nardole. It was funny.
Okay,
What are you typing out?
I'm doing a poll for which do I do prefer, Last Christmas or The Next Doctor, so I'm going to put that poll up on the HoM.
Next Doctor, all the bloody way.
I'm telling you,
okay.
I'm telling you, The Next Doctor will win.
Those are arguably my two favourites, so I'm not going to be mad either way.
Oh man, I should have went for something different. Oh well. We'll see the results.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's a miss from you, Xander?
Who? Sorry.
For Not All.
No. Nardole was a hit.
Okay.
Wow.
You sounded
There
pretty
were parts
negative
I
to me.
couldn't grasp, but at the end of the day, funny character. I liked him.
Okay.
Right, then I will say...
That is a slight miss, like a hangover or sprouts.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing is that it's kind of related to what you were saying, Xander. I think he just became the dumping ground for Moffat's really over-the-top level of humour, so it just got stupid to the point that, you know, when you're talking about him having glass nipples and invisible hair, it's past the line of, you know, acceptable comedy into farce. It's
Yeah.
stupid. I like Matt Lucas. I think his performance is often decent, and you can also tell, just again related to what you were saying, Xander, that he was never intended to come back at the end of after the Husbands of River Song,
Yeah.
and Moffat explaining it with just, let's be honest, pretty piss poor jokes, it doesn't fly with me. Do you know what I mean? So.
Thing is, as well, there was the one with the disease in what was it? Pyramid at the End of the World, where it's like it could kill organic matter. Nardole collapses because he's got human lungs, right? And then next episode is fine. I don't get that.
Yeah, they didn't really. I don't think it's something you thought. Yeah.
Well, Sanders' friend, listening to this, I'm gonna back you here, and I'm gonna say it's a big old hit because every single scene he's in, I always have a smile on my face, and I think he's very funny. And I also like the dynamic between him and Bill, especially in The Lie of the Land, where he kind of jokes around with Bill, and then it ends up with Bill punching him in the arm, and then or like Nardol's regressing, like he's running away from her. And I just think the contrast between, especially the Doctor and also Nardole, especially in War Enough in Time, where Missy is joking with Bill, and then the Doctor and Bill have to talk, and then you have Nardole in the kitchens, and then he says, "Are you doing an emotion?" And I think that's such a great line, and I thought it's very funny. And I think, especially in the pilot, the first episode of the series, where the Doctor goes to the left and Nardole goes to the right, it's such basic comedy, but I always laugh. It's so funny. But yeah, I think.
Well, you said it. You said it. You basic B.
Wow. Are you calling Xander's friend basic?
Not at all. Xander's friend is entitled to their opinion.
That's very
At least they didn't
harsh.
turn around and say that Little Britain was brilliant when it's actually garbage. So.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, Matt Lucas, he was very good. In the Doctor Falls, when he kind of exits, I shed a tear. Very emotional. And then I don't think we talked about it, and I don't think you like that ending, but I love it. I think the Doctor Falls is such a great ending for everyone. For Bill, for that star in her eye lady, for Nardole. Heather, yes.
Yeah.
Even though I do think A Star in Her Eye would be a better title than the pilot.
Yeah, I have to agree with that as well.
Yeah, I can see why they went with the pilot, because they kind of wanted to say like, hey, everybody can just jump on board because it's like a complete reset.
Ooh,
but yeah, the other title is better.
I do think the pilot was conceived because the Doctor is the pilot of the TARDIS. I didn't see it like that. Like anyone can jump on. I saw it as either A Star in Her Eye being Heather, or the pilot being the Doctor. And since it is the Doctor, it's Doctor Who. I think that's why they chose it.
No, the pilot is supposed to refer to Heather. Like being piloted around by whatever this thing is.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can, if you can go look it up anyway. But Moffat says yes, it's a reference. It's kind of a thin reference to Heather, but really he used the title because he wanted to hallmark that if you were worried about, because it had kind of gotten all convoluted and kind of in its own mythology, and he was like, this is a perfect point for everybody to just jump on board. In Series 10, you can just watch start to finish without worrying about like the River Song story or Clara's Impossible Girl thing or whatever else. So it was supposed to be a hard reset.
Right, fair enough. I've also got the results or the latest scores of the poll. Last Christmas is winning with 57.1%, 14 votes so far, 5 minutes been up. So yeah, looks like Last Christmas is getting away with this.
Getting away with nothing, it's brilliant.
We'll have to agree to disagree there. Maybe next Christmas we'll review that episode and then we'll have a proper talk about it.
Fair enough.
Next up we have Planet of the Dead. No, we don't, because that's not a Christmas special. We have
It's a
The
special
End of Time Part 1.
Oh.
Just part 1, or are we not talking part 2 as well?
Just Part 1.
Oh.
Part 2 is New Year's Day.
You're awful for cutting off the ending. Part 1 set up for a fantastic end of part 2, which we're not going to discuss because of Scrooge over here. But part 1 was fantastic, quoting Mike's soundboard. If you could press that for me, please, that would be ideal.
Hang on a sec. I will do.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Yep.
Could you click on my behalf as well?
Okay, so now everyone's just co-opting my cool soundboard idea?
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
Fantastic.
There you go.
I do
that
think
was for
part
you
2's
two, not
better.
me.
Okay. Ooh, I do think part 2 is better than part 1, and part 1 is ridiculous in the sense I've spoke about before about the master being Skeletor, though I do like the joke in the ending of part 1 where the Doctor does say the guy upstairs, Skeletor, and I love that bit of dialogue, the exchange between where he's trying to figure out what they call him.
Master Harold Saxon, Skeletor, whatever you're calling him, what is he doing up there?
Yeah, I do love that bit of dialogue.
That's brilliant.
I do think the concept is a bit iffy. But yeah, and also the restoration scene where Lucy kind of restores him and then it kind of chucks stuff on him and then it explodes. I just don't like that bit. I think it's a bit over the top. It's just, it suffers from the same thing that Last of the Time Lords does. It's kind of the Doctor being some angelic figure, and it does it to the Master, and it just doesn't work for me, and I think it's a bit over the top. OTT.
The Master's always kind of had hypnotic power, though, and being able to kind of like be the charismatic sort of people can follow him kind of thing. So I kind of give that a pass more than I do like, oh look, the Doctor has transformed into an angel version of Dobby the House Elf. Oh.
Yeah, fair enough. Mike, do you have your...
Yeah, I will. I'm very on the fence, but I'll say... I wouldn't necessarily go great. It might even be. I might even say it's the weakest of all the Christmas specials. But given that I've already said once or twice I like them all. But I have just so many issues with it. Like the David Harewood character, is it Joshua Naismith, has nothing to do whatsoever. He's introduced and then just not there. It seems like a complete waste of a character and actor. The stuff with the Master just tends to get a bit too silly. Either the kind of flashing skeleton, but I give that a pass because I personally see it as a reference back to the Deadly Assassin, so I'll let that fly. But then the idea of everybody in the world transforming into the Master got kind of stupid. But the episode itself is really enjoyable. Tennant's great. I think Bernard Cribbins is excellent. And I'm sure I've mentioned before, either on the podcast or in conversation with you, that when I first watched it on Christmas Day, that last line where it revealed the Time Lords, I genuinely leapt up and punched my fist in the air and was like, yes! Because it was my exciting kind of nerd moment. So I'm sure the neighbours were like, what's he so happy about? It's 7 o'clock on a Christmas Day. So I can't really say it's a miss. But yeah, I have issues with it.
Okay, fair enough. The final two is The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Why do you hate me? Why do you hate me?
Xander?
Go on, Xander.
You'll have to crap. utter rubbish. Miss.
I knew you were going to say that.
There is no element in that is the saving grace. It's rubbish.
I am hurting as well, Michael. Don't worry. I am hurting. Do you want to go next?
Well, there you go. So do you want mine?
Yeah, go for it.
Let me just say... Oops. It's never done that. It just threw an advert on me. Sorry. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Calm down. Okay, this is my opinion.
Well, yes. Tick.
I like it. I know it's not necessarily great, and I know it's hated by the fan base at large, but I do not get that. I don't get how people can find it offensively bad. Like it's kind of fine, and I really think that line at the end about all life kind of comes back to the mothership, I think is really clever. That's an example for me of Moffat actually being kind of clever in his writing rather than just up his own butt with oh, I'm so clever about things and all ridiculously over the top funny. I think Bill Bailey and Arabella Weir are great, but we've probably wasted a bit, unfortunately. I think the Wooden King is a really cool monster design and quite creepy, especially for a Christmas special. And I think the episode overall, I think it gets elevated by Matt Smith because he's just excellent. And again, it's the same thing with Christmas Carol. Even in the moments that I don't like, there's a moment or two that gets me teary, and the moments in that are kind of when the 11th Doctor says, why should they sort of have fun now if they're going to be sad later? The answer is because they're going to be sad later. It gets me every time. I don't know why, but I'm like, oh, bless you.
The boy who also says humany womany.
Yeah, when he briefly sees Amy and Rory at the end, he that's a callback to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand the hate. It's just, yes, I see the problems, obviously. I think it is a bit OTT again. But then you've got Matt Smith playing one of his better performances, and then you've got it's meant to be a bit of fun. It's meant to be Christmas, so you've got a big tree, you've got a big present. Kids like the present and the trees and the moving, and the one thing is a bit over the top in the house is the moving chairs, which is a bit weird, and the CGI they used was a bit iffy. So yeah, I get that, and also the scenes in the forest, especially with Bill Bailey, and also the gun. We have a war on. It's kind of a nice moment, but the actual interaction scenes between all of them, I'm not a fan. And especially when we get to the ship, I'm not a fan of the crown going onto the heads. And
I like that.
I like the idea of like the trees need to escape, so they go into one soul. But then it's kind of, and then I do like also the scene where they fly the husband home for Christmas Day. I love that moment.
Might have. If it wasn't Christmas Day, I don't think I would like that as much, but I give it a pass for being, because it's cheesy and it's saccharine, but I'm kind of like, I prefer that
this whole
to.
episode is cheesy, but it's good cheesy. It's not.
I prefer that to ending your Christmas special with, that person's only got a day to live, for example, which is kind of a downer. So.
Oh my god!
We'll move on to that.
I can tell. I can tell. There's gonna be.
Oh god! I'll get my mace ready.
Yeah, please do. Now we may have done 11 today, or we may have done 10. I'm not sure, but we'll wrap this up with the snowman. If someone says a miss for
Victorian
this,
TARDIS, but okay.
oh, so yeah, the snowman.
Xander?
Crap again. Rubbish.
Oh my!
It's poor.
It's beautiful.
After 2010, after Tennant regenerated, we start to get the worst Christmas specials. Wardrobe, The Snowman, The Return of Dr. Mysterio, Last Christmas. Rubbish.
Right. Well, that isn't even funny.
It's rubbish!
The snowman is
the monster of the week!
Jenna Coleman and Matt Smith were electric. I love the story. Matt Smith, this is one, if not the best performance he gives. The whole dynamic between the two, the return of the Paternoster gang, I just love it. It's so much better.
I don't like the Paternoster gang.
I do like Deep Breath, but this is a better version of Deep Breath. Matt Smith was so superb, and this would be the biggest hit. This would be, in my opinion, the best Christmas special, The Snowman. 10 out of 10.
I'll tell you the amount of pain I had whilst watching Snowman. I was watching it and I was eating a toffee penny.
Did it again! Sorry.
I was eating a toffee penny. I lost a molar from that toffee penny. That was the pain I felt watching that episode.
Oh man. It's so good. What is there to dislike? What do you dislike about it?
I'm gonna chime in and say that.
Hang on, Sander, what do you dislike?
Go ahead.
Well, it's just the fact is that you've got the monsters. Oh, it's snowmen. It's a case of we've had Arachnos, we've had the Sycorax, we've had the Master,
evil
and you give us snowmen.
Yes, that are mind hallucinogenic. They're cool.
Oh dear, it's an evil snowman.
Yes.
Here, my red hot poker will go right through it.
It's the same theme though as the fact that it's the great intelligence, and it's no different than a Yeti, is it? Really, when you think about it.
Isn't it saving factor? Because it's a case of I love that, and they had Sir Ian McKellen as the voice of it, which was brilliant, and they also had Richard.
And Richard E. Grant's good in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sir Ian McKellen was great intelligence. But then they brought Richard E. Grant back, not once but twice in Series 7.
Yeah, awesome. The Name of the Doctor is such a strong episode.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing that at all, but was he really needed in the Bells of St. John?
Look, he was the Doctor in The Curse of Fatal Death and Scream of the Shalka. He can come back any time he wants.
Not canon, no.
It's all canon now.
Michael, please give me your thoughts.
Yeah, let me just say well, first of all, Xander, I love snowmen, but I will say...
Yeah, snowmen!
I will say...
Who the man?
Yeah, who the man the 11th Doctor is in that episode. Yeah, I like the snowmen a lot.
Thank you.
I don't really get the criticism. I've not entirely heard that much of it before.
I don't see any of the criticism. I don't see hate for this episode at all. I don't see any dislike.
I love the guest cast. I think the Paternoster gang are at their least offensive, because it was before Moffat was like, let's give the funny Sontar and all the stupid jokes. I think Vastra's actually really quite... enigmatic and cool. I do kind of take offence to you saying that you didn't like the Runaway Bride because the Doctor's moping the entire way through, though, when during the Snowman he's literally like took a huff and
Right, it's just a case of it. Okay, yes, I get your comparison. Losing Rose, losing Amy and Rory, this one obviously. He turns into a dick though.
No, he doesn't.
I'm retired. I'm not helping anyone.
No. Maybe the 10th Doctor, but Matt Smith is definitely not big. He helps out. He helps out straight away. He has to.
He's kind of forced.
But he has the beautiful moment in the TARDIS where he's reading the book and then he looks up and then he hears the word pond and he takes off his glasses. Great bit of physical acting there. And then he comes down to the
PTSD.
And flashback. Yes, it's a beautiful bit of television.
I don't dislike it, Ed, but I do think I do take issue, Will, with you saying you don't like, as I said, the 10th Doctor being so, as you say, supposedly hung up and miserable in Runaway Bride, when it's 1/100th of how bad the 11th Doctor is in The Snowmen. Where, like I said, he's fully emo. He's like, no, I'm going to take a huff and stomp up here, and you know, so
it's cool.
yeah,
it's like the Scrooge, just cool. And then he helps out. He's the Doctor again when he saves the children in the thing, and then he looks at the bow tie and he thinks, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but he does mope for a good, you know, at least half of that episode, though. And I'm talking like full-on teenage strop moping, which I don't buy from. I don't buy from the Doctor.
Grunge phase again, showing.
Yeah, no, it's his emo phase. He may as well have just grown his hair into a fringe and just sat up on his cloud listening to My Chemical Romance or something.
Guess what? I put what would you rate the Snowman out of 10? And Xander just said 3. I'm hurt.
Oh!
I am hurt. Let me make a point. One of the saving graces that it had was when you were just talking about how the Doctor saved the children and he impersonates Mr. Punch. That were funny. I like that bit. Doctor!
Were that funny, were it?
That were great.
Oh, bless you. I love the Yorkshire accent so much. I really want them to cast somebody with Xander's exact accent as the Doctor. Look, companions, it's Daleks. They're deadly. You best just watch out way.
The Doctor was from up north.
Yeah, but he wasn't fully. He was a Mancunian. He wasn't a Yorkshireman.
Well, we got Whittaker. She's a Yorkshire lass.
That's true. She actually does have a lot of the moments of that as well.
And she's from Huddersfield, the town of my uni. Yay!
Yay! What was I saying? I've completely lost track now. Anyway,
I do have the results of the poll. The Last Christmas is getting away with this, 66.7%. When I say getting away, I mean as in it's.
You mean running away with it, not getting away with it.
Well, both really. But yeah,
I meant to tell you.
Sorry, I was going to say I don't want to completely poop on Last Christmas. I think it is a good Christmas special, as is the next Doctor. Both are good stories, but I'd say Last Christmas is slightly weaker than the other ones. That's what I'm trying to say. But I do not dislike Last Christmas. I'll go for it.
I don't agree, but you're entitled to that opinion. I meant to tell you as well. You're going to like this, so
I'll go for it.
You're gonna like this part. I put do you know how I always like kind of share whatever you put on Twitter onto the Facebook group?
Yeah.
So I put up after you released episode 7 the thing that you'd said, what would you rate Death of the Doctor out of 10? And I have one reply in the comments and it's just 11. Which I think is it's obviously deliberate because 11th Doctor, but it's also just really funny. So I was like, I've got to tell Will that.
Yeah, that's great. Xander, out of interest, what would you rate Death of the Doctor?
Death at Doctor for me is a very, very high 10 because it's brilliant. It's got the lovely Katie Manning, who I do keep a lot of contact with on Twitter. She's absolutely lovely.
Yes.
Katie Manning is absolutely lovely.
Oh yeah, she's brilliant. I've seen her tweets.
She's awesome.
Yeah. One of the best episodes of SJA. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you get the references, you've got the memory weave, you've even got David Bradley playing a great big ostrich.
Okay.
Perfect.
Two more questions. What would you rate Torchwood's the first episode? What's it called? Everything Changes.
Again, very strong episode. It's like, I'd say a good 9.
Oh wow.
A good 9. Okay. It's a good episode.
And what would you rate Class for Tonight We Might Die?
I haven't seen Class, so I've got no opinion.
See? I think that's the problem. A lot of people haven't seen it, you see?
Fair enough. Yeah. All right.
I'll put one. I'll put one to you as well if time permits or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So what we should have done was Coral versus Victorian, the 1996 movie TARDIS.
Oh, okay.
Which do you two prefer, gentlemen?
Ooh, I think. Well, I've got a photo of myself on the 8th Doctor's TARDIS, so I think I do prefer that a little bit. Anyway, I think it's good.
Don't make me hate you, Mike. I never had the experience. I always wanted to go to the experience.
Oh no, it wasn't that. Believe me, that would have been really cool. It was one of those things where there was nothing there. It was a kind of green screen thing at a convention I went to, but they put the 8th Doctor's TARDIS. I mean, the console was there,
I was
but there was nothing else.
Yeah, I'll have to look back.
Use it as a team background. I love the Victorian TARDIS. It's brilliant. But what pains me was that they used it once, and that's it. Yeah. You got it for the 96 movie, and then it's retired. It's at Cleethorpes with the other Time Lords. If you get that reference, well done.
Yeah, I do like it a lot. I think it's. I like the whole aesthetic that they had built for the 8th Doctor. I think it's a shame that it didn't develop into a series because his kind of almost Edwardian kind of costume as well. Even though I don't think McGann likes it, and in the audios he's kind of straight into a leather jacket and whatever. I really like that costume, and I think it fits in that TARDIS. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say.
It's a weird one, but yeah, I'd agree. But it's not with my favourite TARDISes. Neither are. Yeah, not a big fan. But yeah, that concludes the hit or miss section. I believe we have 10 or 11 topics there. So now, what episode will we be reviewing today, Xander?
That would be A Christmas Carol.
Now, if you want to start us off, do you have like a logline, a summary to start it off without being too spoilery?
Like a basic summary of the whole episode.
Whoa, like a logline, like a one short line that kind of just summarizes your thoughts.
Okay.
That is not
Do you want me to go first, and then it can be an example?
Go for it.
I'm new to this.
I'll do mine, and then because we always do this, and I always feel bad for the guest because they're kind of not sure what to say and what not to say. So I'll give mine, and then I'll give you a kind of an example. So I've put a Doctor Who take on a festive tale originated by Dickens and adapted by everyone from George C. Scott to the Muppets. Although this version has flying sharks for some reason. Unoriginal, but often deeply emotional and very Christmassy.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. I'll go second then. A strong episode that has funny innuendo and a joyous festive story adapted from an iconic book that of course goes by the same name. Whilst there are one or two continuity issues slotted around, one big one I'm sure we'll get into, all can be forgiven since it's all a bit of Christmas fun, as you said earlier. Which deals with some serious problems, for example, abuse and whatnot. I put all the cast on top form, and the director Toby Haynes and the editor Adam Wretched did a great job. That's what I put.
Okay.
Well, then I would basically sum up with along the lines of. This is undoubtedly the best Christmas special of all time, out of all of them from Doctor Who. Very strong take on Christmas Carol, the Dickens story, in comparison to The Unquiet Dead. So we had the elements of that with actual Dickens itself, but Christmas Carol goes above and beyond that. And truly emotional story, fantastic acting, fantastic music, brilliant story, and a true Christmas treat to watch.
Spot on. I have a tear in my eye with how accurate that is. Now
here comes Mike with the rebuttal.
Come on,
I've got nothing to say to that.
No, but as in, when we actually get into the episodes, right, let's get into the positives. Let's get into the pre-title sequence.
Okay.
Who wants to
I've
go
got
first?
notes.
Go for it.
I've got notes chronological. So do you want to lead us through? And again, if you miss or skip over, then I'll go
because
back.
I don't have any notes. I'm freestyling this today.
Okay. Oh well. Do you want me to take the lead then, and I can go through the notes chronologically, and then you can counter my criticisms. I'm sure you will.
Oh, there we go.
So yeah, going with the intro sequence, I've said that the outer space special effects are just awesome. It's a great intro, which it's also great that it hits the ground running straight into kind of action and danger. But the slight issues that I have, are you ready? Is all of the references just seem like it's Stephen Moffat's greatest hits. Doctor, don't be late just this once, Come Along Pond, the honeymoon costumes from 11th Hour and Pandorica.
No, that was funny. Like I said in the summary, it's the innuendo. It's all the innuendos at the start. I thought that was brilliant. It's just a bit of fun.
Strikes.
The Roman and the policewoman.
Yeah. It's like a response from the honeymoon suite, and it was like, oh, what's in the honeymoon suite? And it's them, and then, why are you dressed up? And it was like, the honeymoon. And I thought, yes, we know what you're on about. Just kill me with it. But yeah, it was a bit of fun. I didn't see that as a criticism.
But it's just the fact that it's deliberately the costumes from season 5. It just strikes me as like, oh, come on. It very much is like, oh, remember? Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, kind of.
And it kind of, it's symptomatic of Amy and Rory in the whole episode, because they've got nothing to do, and they are just literally there to remind you that they are still with the Doctor and they were in the last season. So everything they do is like a reference back in that way, which is a shame, but never mind.
But one moment I do want to mention, when Rory comes into the cockpit at the front, basically when he kind of gets revealed, he kind of bangs into the wall, and then there's an explosion behind him at that exact moment. I think that's, even if that wasn't intentional, I love that. It looks so cool.
Dude, they've been doing that on Star Trek for 30 odd years.
Well, there we go. It's a great moment.
Yeah, and you probably didn't hear this. I was most likely cut off, but I said that when Rory comes in and says, is this does this mean the Doctor's coming, or do I just have to change the bulb? Yes, it's a funny joke. It was also funny when Red Dwarf used it like 15-20 years ago, and it's just been stolen from there. So Moffat, write your own jokes.
Oh dear. Usually, I'm telling you now, if this was in another era, like a Tennant era story, you'd appreciate the throwbacks. It was the references. They're references, it's not stealing.
No, just to clarify, I don't think, like, if you guys like the references, that's fair enough. I can't say you're wrong to like them, but for me, it just seemed like I'd rather that Amy and Rory had something to do other than just, like, remember? So, yeah.
Though we did have no explanation to why the TARDIS was going alongside him at the start, and it says, come along pond, I think you mentioned it. And then
because they called for him. That was the whole point. It was the distress call thing.
Why didn't he just go onto the ship? It never explained. Was it shielded? Which it probably was, but it never explained it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, why would he go onto the ship? That would just mean he would be crashing as well. It doesn't help anyway.
No, because then everyone can escape into the TARDIS.
Yeah, but that's kind of always a flaw with Doctor Who, isn't it? Like, why don't we just get in the TARDIS and go away? But yeah, I didn't really notice that, but I can see that criticism as well if you want to add it to the list.
That's going to be one of my only few criticisms, so you can have that.
Fair enough. Have we lost Xander? I'm very conscious of, I don't want to...
I'm back.
Oh, okay, I don't want to talk over him this easily. So. So did you have anything to say about the pre-credits, and then I'll move on to after that, Xander?
No, the pre-credits were very funny. It's like it sets up the story nicely. They're in the crashing ship, and it's a case of they're running out of time, and the Doctor locks on and is like, I'm on the way.
Yeah.
So no, nice pre-sequence.
Yeah, I don't think it does a good job of setting the stakes early doors.
I completely disagree. At the very end, whereas Amy says it's Christmas, I think that sets up the tone of the episode. Like it's going to be.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the stakes of like the danger. I'm not talking about the tone of the overall.
Yeah, they're
piece.
crashing. They're literally shouting. There's explosions. I disagree. It's one of the best setting the stakes. I completely.
I think you've misheard me. I just said it does a really good job of setting up the stakes.
I swear you didn't say that, but okay, my ears
That's
just...
what I did say.
Okay. I will listen back later on.
Anyway, moving on. So then after we get the series, let's see, 5 or 6 credits, whichever it is, we cut into the shots of the planet, which I've said is gorgeous. Both the art department and the VFX, I think it's the mill and real SFX. I don't really have any other credits, apologies to whoever probably responsible, but I think it looks gorgeous. I like that it's kind of a Victorian Christmas evoking idea, but with kind of modern bright Christmas lights and stuff as well. I think the atmosphere and direction here in this scene is it's just A+.
Superb, yeah.
and then we cut. So yeah, did you have anything to say about that, Sander? Because I was being positive for a second.
No, I totally agree with you. The art style of the planet was fantastic, and like I said, Christmas Carol was obviously set in Victorian times, and the way that the planet looks, despite the fact there's a great big pillar of purple energy going up into the air, looks very Edwardian, looks very Victorian. Yeah. It looks something like Charles Dickens, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, it does. As I say, I noticed the fact that they have kind of electrical Christmas lights, which you wouldn't have in the Victorian thing, but I think it works. It doesn't like stand out as really bad, and I think it just adds to atmosphere. So then we go into Kazran's kind of mansion through the window, notably, and I think this is where Michael Gambon was not great for me. His kind of he plays the kind of the mean kind of character a little bit too over the top for me. No. But it's on a knife edge. But I also think he's kind of pervy in this scene as well, which bothers me. When he first sees Abigail and he's like, "Oh, she's a bit alright, isn't she?" And I'm like, "Oh."
I think she's a bit cool about the idea.
Sorry.
Yeah, it plays it off like that, and I don't. Well, that's not pervy. That's just a joke. It's like Moffat old joke. Oh, she's in a freezer. She's a bit cool about it.
Yeah, that joke, but I'm on about like that, even despite that, he kind of like, oh, she looks kind of nice, your sort of daughter. Oh, it's my sister. Oh, she's a bit good looking, kind of thing. And it's very kind of, it's Moffat gets accused a lot of those kind of sexist type jokes, and I think there is a bit of that in there if we're really looking. But yeah, I've also said that they refer to the ship that's
not this episode. In other episodes, not this one. I disagree there.
Okay, fair enough. As I was saying, they refer to the ship that's crashing as a Galaxy class ship, which is a reference back to Series 5 and I think one of the classic Doctor Who stories, but it's also notably a reference to Star Trek The Next Generation. It's the same class as the Enterprise D, which I always notice because I'm a big Star Trek nerd. So, the idea of you what, sorry?
I didn't pick up on the reference to Star Class.
Star Class.
the ship.
Oh yeah, the spaceship class, Galaxy class ship. Yeah. It's mentioned I think in Time of Angels, and it's definitely something that's come up before. But yeah. Anyway. The line about there being a surplus population, so he's kind of happy to let people die, is literally just lifted straight from A Christmas Carol, for better or worse.
Yeah, that's good.
And then we get into Matt Smith's entrance, which I think is absolutely brilliant.
You've skipped on a bit. I was just going to say I love the interaction between Kazran and the family, especially with the boy, where he kind of says she can't hear you, and then he says you must be so annoyed. And I think that's a lovely bit of a moment there, because you said he kind of overplays it, and I thought absolutely not, because then he pulls that back to be nice to the kid, and then he has a wink, and then I think that's not overplaying at all. That's just bringing back his performance, turning it down, and then adding some comedy. So I do disagree that he overplayed it. Absolutely not. I think Michael Gambon was a highlight of this episode, or one of the highlights.
Yeah, okay. But I think it's not so much him, it's a lot of the dialogue. It's kind of, whether it's, I call it wanting something for nothing, or, oh, she's cold about the whole thing, or you can, the ship's going to crash. Well, that's a kind of landing. I just don't care, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's kind of...
The dialogue quips is beautiful. It's vintage Moffat. I completely disagree. Again, it's
a bit over the top for me, but that's just me.
What are you thinking?
I just love Michael Gambon's acting in the whole episode.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a brilliant casting, because he's just come out of Harry Potter. You've just seen him as Dumbledore the year prior, and he just plays the role brilliantly. Because again, the only closest that they ever came close to Christmas Carol was Young and Quiet Dead. It's like, well, where's the Scrooge element? I mean, you got Mr. Sneed, but that's not enough. This is a proper Ebenezer Scrooge type character.
Yeah, but that's not original, though, is it?
There we go.
Well, no, but then again, you've got the Muppets. The Muppets did it first.
Yeah.
Muppets, every other cover that they've done, Simpsons.
Everybody's done it, yeah. But that's my point.
Doctor Who just did it a bit more original.
I don't agree.
Let's go on to the Matt Smith reveal. Matt Smith.
So Matt Smith's entrance is brilliant. I think it strikes the perfect tone, which he then does with his acting. I gave up trying to know every time I thought the dialogue was brilliant, because there was so many times in this scene. Like almost every line that Matt Smith gets is well written, perfectly delivered. I think the episode and the writing just actually come to life as soon as the Doctor appears, which I suppose is probably deliberate when you think about it, because it is his show.
Again, there's a lot of that, because Catherine kind of says that was funny, and he makes the bodyguards, the security laugh, and it's just there's these quips. Like I said, it's vintage Moffat. It's not just when Matt Smith comes in. I think the reason why you're saying that is because Matt Smith's performance is so electric. He brings it to life, but Catherine has the same kind of dialogue quips, but he's a bit more monotone. He's a bit more kind of miserable. But then you have the Doctor come in, and then he says, "Oh look, I was with Albert Einstein and Santa Claus," and it's lines like that, and I just think it's so great, and I think I was so happy when he came back in.
I just think the Doctor has more depth underneath every line, whereas Gambon is just literally playing a ridiculously over-the-top version of Scrooge, and I couldn't have done without that personally.
Okay. The bit I was going to mention was these controls are isomorphic. That bit of dialogue, I love it. Kind of the Doctor wriggling with the. Yeah. I was going to say wriggling with
big fibber. Oh, these are isomorphic.
I love that moment. Yeah.
I have a point about those controls, but we'll get to it when we get to the point in the story.
Okay, I'm curious now. Okay, the next thing I wanted to make a note of is that I don't know if this came before Sherlock, but the scene where the Doctor kind of starts examining the room, it's exactly the same as whenever Moffat's doing one of those kind of moments in Sherlock, where
that's the point. That's the point. It's meant to be a crossover, Mike. It's not meant to be just unique to one show. That's why he did it. Matt Smith was going to be in Sherlock. He auditioned for it, not to play Sherlock.
Yeah, Sherlock did it first.
His assistant. Sherlock did it first, but you gotta remember it. They're both Moffat's shows, right? So he can do whatever he wants. So Matt Smith had his moment to shine, and the similar happened in the Snowmen. I know Xander doesn't like the Snowmen, but you do, Mike.
No, I was just going to pick up on that. He does it again in the Snowmen. He's actually dressed as Sherlock Holmes, and you can actually tell in the background with the music. The music is actually very similar to Moffat's tune in Sherlock.
Yeah,
it might even be the same track.
I think that's a positive. I think that's a positive. I don't think the Doctor having a Sherlock moment is inherently bad. I think it's a great little moment.
I just think it jars in this moment, and it's another example of a lot of the times in here. I would argue that's kind of lazy writing. It seems like Moffat kind of almost wrote this episode in a hurry, so he does fall back on like, I'll just give him the Sherlock thing to do. I've written that a few times, kind of thing.
Well, the thing is, you said at the start, it's like Moffat having his greatest hits moment, and I think that's exactly the same for this moment. Moffat is
that's not a good thing.
I would say he wasn't being lazy. He's just having fun, and I completely disagree. I think the way it was directed as well, I put in my summary, because this is the moment after he goes to hit the boy, and then it's like, would you rather have an expedition done? Because here you have Matt Smith's Doctor walking around the room. I know there's a lot of dialogue, but he kind of zips around the room, and then he talks really fast. And you said you really like those bits of dialogue because it's excellent dialogue, and the delivery was great. Would you rather him just do this Sherlock kind of stuff and get it done within about 20 seconds, or would you rather him go around the room again to say everything, like, "Oh, there's pains behind the chair. Oh, your father, whatever," and then would you rather that again, just waste another minute or two off the show, or would you just want to get on with it? It's a bit of fun. It's Moffat. It's literally Moffat personified. It's beautiful. I love it.
If you would rather not have characterization and depth, fair enough. I personally would.
This is character depth. This is... Oh, never mind.
It's not. It's Wizards to get it out of the way and just be like, look, he's clever, he's got it, move on. Do you know what I mean? There's no real... Anyway, never mind. So anyhow, I think, the end of that scene has another bit of great dialogue with Matt Smith touching on the nature of humanity and the really cool callback of, you should like Christmas, it's very you, halfway out of the dark. I think is actually a really good line. But then the next note that I have is when you start getting into the fish.
I love this. I love it. No. If you say you dislike the scene, I will literally kill you. The moment where the Doctor's on the phone with Amy, and he notices the fish, and this is an example of the excellent direction, where he's like, a Christmas Carol, and then the music just goes and then he looks up and he says, Merry Christmas, Catherine Sardick, and it's kind of zooming out on him, and it's got the contrast between orange, black and white, Christmas, dark, and like sci-fi glow, and I just think that moment, especially the direction, was superb, and I love that moment.
First of all, that moment only exists because the Doctor is being told to do a Christmas Carol, and it's hallmarking it, which I don't think is necessary. And secondly, as regards the whole idea of the fish, I've read in an interview previously with Moffat that he didn't really have a monster or an idea for the special, and then he kind of woke up one morning and had a weird dream about a fish tank or something, and that's exactly how this comes off. It's like a Moffat fever dream. They don't fit in the episode. They've got nothing to do with Christmas
I'm
or
really
the story.
Happy he had that dream. I disagree.
No, I just no.
Thing is, though, as well, in Crackers, you get the magic fish, don't you?
Exactly.
In some Crackers, you get the magic fish, which changes depending on you. That's the idea behind using fish.
I love the aesthetic of it, like them swimming in the fog. It's just beautiful. It's just like a mad out-of-world experience. It's Doctor Who. If this is any other episode, you'd be saying, "Oh, it's sci-fi. It's a bit of fun." It's a great moment. I love it.
It's the fact that it's the tone, though. I don't understand how you can say, Xander, I don't like the alien enemy being snowmen on a Christmas Day episode, but you're fine with flying sharks. It doesn't make any sense.
Because the video, the film quality is better. You've got little fish and, swimming up in fog light. You've got a stupid snowman.
But snowmen make a lot more sense.
I do disagree, because the fish and the snowmen are both really good villains. Well, not very good villains, but I just call fish villains. No, what I'm trying to say is I really like their inclusion into the episodes. Like the snowmen, they were defeated by thinking different of, like, picture them melting. But the fish, they weren't villains. They were just harmless. And then you have the big fish, the shark, which was kind of the villain. And then it kind of resonates the crystals, the singing and the vibrations and the delta wave. Man, I love it. Even if some of it doesn't kind of work, I think this works. I think this is a big old hit. And I think I think you are being a bit I'm going to say you're going to be a bit unfair on the fish. I do.
There's not really a villain in this story, is there?
No.
There's not a massive villain.
The shark is.
I would say Kazran probably is.
Kazran is the villain, yeah.
Oh yeah, but then he changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole point. The whole story is changing the villain into someone good. That's why.
Yeah.
The past, present, and future. And then that's why the line at the end is, "This the man you want to be?" And then they hug and embrace. And I do mention it, but it's such a small moment, but it's still very nice. So yeah, Kazran is the villain, and / the shark. Though I did mention the shark is meant to be dead, yet it still lives. It says the shark is dead. What's the nasty fish done to you? And then Kazran.
He doesn't say it's dead. He says there's nothing you can do to prevent it dying, and then they figure out a way to do it.
Right. I did not catch that, but okay. That was one of the continuity errors I was talking about at the start. So now that you've rectified that, this story's went up in my estimations. Thank you for that.
It is actually, that's actually quite a good scene, because the shark's hurt, and as I say, Kazran's like, well, is there anything we can do? And the Doctor's like, oh no, I'm sorry, he's too badly hurt. And then you get kind of the Doctor and Kazran coming up with the plan of like, but if we took him back up there, he could heal or whatever else. So no, it's not so much continuity error as much as maybe the 11th Doctor over-exaggerating how badly hurt it was, and it couldn't be saved when it could.
Yeah, probably.
But before we go on, I want to talk about the Doctor going to old Kazran and showing him the projection of the young Kazran and the hit, the smack, and the way that Gambon puts his hand to his face, I know it's like a direction thing, but it's really not a nice moment, but it's you know, it's representation of that kind of stuff, and they do it really
it's one of those things where I don't know if you could put it down to directing or acting without knowing whether it was Gambon's choice or whether the director told him to do it, but it's a good moment.
Yeah, and then you have the Doctor like whizzing between the past and the future. We're not there yet, but when the Doctor has to go back to get the code to the door.
Timey-wimey Moffat cleverness.
And it was clever because the Doctor just went through a door and he materialized in this kid's bedroom, and he burst through the window and he says, how do you come through my door? Why are you coming through my window? And he says, well, if I was going out the window, I'd be going in the wrong way.
Wrong direction.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's so many good things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say that's a negative there. I thought, geez.
No, there's so many good lines. I love. I've mentioned it. I'll just jump ahead and say that possibly my favourite line in the whole thing is the Doctor saying that he's the new babysitter. You'll find I'm universally recognised as a mature, responsible adult. Psychic paper. Right. It's just a bunch of wavy lines. Oh yeah, shorted out. Finally, a lie too big. I was like, that's brilliant. That's the kind of humour I'm here for. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
But yeah, that whole interaction scene between them, I really love. And like, this leads on to one of the biggest continuity error I was thinking of. How does old Kazran see the events of the two after they went into the cupboard where it smashed to bits? And because
he doesn't.
No, he does, because
that's my question. How is the Doctor filming inside the closet? I don't know.
No. He takes the laptop into the closet, but then he says, "What do you call it if something with no feed does a run up?" Which is a bit of nice dialogue, but then it kind of fuzzes out. But I'm talking about every scene after that. There's no laptop to be seen, yet older Kazran is still looking at the events that's happening, because then they're out in the ice chamber, and then Kazran's saying the code. Yeah, how does he know the code is needed?
Right, I get what you mean. He turns around away from the screen and says it's going to eat us. It's him remembering the events of the shark in the closet.
I thought that,
his own memories. He goes back to the recollection.
It's really subtle, but it feeds into.
Okay, so sorry.
It feeds into the kind of themes that I think from direction everything's kind of point of view. Like it's through windows and mirrors, and even when he's watching the recording, it's like that. And I think I was with Xander, where I don't think it's entirely hallmarked. It's very subtle, but I think it is supposed to switch from him watching the recording to the memories clicking in, and then eventually he's remembering. So it's more of a stylized, like it's my memory now. I'm not watching it. I'm remembering it. Kind of thing.
No, but that's the point. He was looking at the screen, because when he said the code, he was staring at the screen. You could see the light reflecting on his face, and I thought, oh. But now, if that is what they were trying to go with it, that wraps up all the continuity issues I had, so that makes this perfect. So thank you for that. You wrapped up all the problems I had. So yeah, cheers for that.
I can kind of see where you're coming from with it. Yeah, it is not super clear, but yeah, I just want to say as well, shout out to another positive that talking about the kind of Victorian Christmas Carol set design. Whoever it was that designed Sardic's mansion in the past and the president's scenes, it's brilliant. It just looks gorgeous, very Dickens, very ornate, which I think is a good choice. They could have easily made it like a futuristic looking thing, and they didn't, which is good. Again, though, Moffat repeats his own gags, the idea about people winning the lottery and stuff. Yeah, hilarious. We've been there, we've done that. But never mind. I've put that there's a very good shot of the shark's shadow passing right by the camera, but the protagonists don't see it, and that's repeated a couple of times later with the shark thing, which is good sort of almost horror movie-esque direction. Again, with a very competent director, obviously. But, and this is where I have a slight issue that you're probably going to tear into me for, I don't understand the very thin motivation for young Kazran. I've just said, why does he want to see the bloody fish, and why should I care?
Oh, no,
no.
But you are.
All of his mates have seen something. He was ill at school. You must have had a similar experience where something happens on the day you were off sick, and then you wish you saw it, and you're envious of them. It's envy. and you're a kid, you want to see it, and you've never seen something so important, you're being protected, you will want to see it, and
So let me carry on then and say that the Doctor specifically points out in a really good line, I wear the bow tie because it's cool to not care what people think. Exactly. So why are you whinging that everyone's got a better story about the fish than me? Just don't care.
No, because he says that after. He kind of reassures the boy that he doesn't have to think about what the others say, but he's still going to show him the fish if the shark didn't come. He says that after. If he said at the start, I could see that criticism. But no. He talks about it, and then the Doctor's face kind of just drops as he talks. And then this happens in 2 times. Kind of, the Doctor is in his own little world, and then he looks at Kazran, and then he's upset because that also happens when the shark's dying. Like he says, "Oh, there's nothing I can do," and then he looks at Kazran, and then the Kazran's just crying, and the tone completely shifts down, and it's just 2 moments like that where it's brilliant. I really like it.
Okay. I've put that the shark barging in and everything is a really cool sort of shock scene, but the shark effect is terrible. I'm sorry, it's not good.
Sure.
Kazran crying over the dead shark is interesting, but my slight issue with that is young Kazran at 12 and a half has an awful lot of empathy where it doesn't really explain where that went in the original version of the timeline. Like, I get in the new version they're doing the Dickens thing of the lost lovers made him kind of hard and bitter and whatever else, but in the original timeline it's like, so what happened from from our all living things deserve to live to just let the ship crash, I don't care kind of thing. I think there's probably a reason for it, but I don't think Moffat really sets up enough, and it is obviously related to probably he's had it beaten out of him and abuse and whatever else, but I think we needed a scene or two to explain a little bit more how he goes from as a 12-year-old being really cute and sweet and don't even want the shark to die.
Before the Doctor came in, his thoughts led on to who he became, but when the Doctor came in, he tried to give him a false reality, kind of. But before the Doctor came in, he was being beaten, he couldn't see the fish. The Doctor was there to show him the fish. He wouldn't have seen the fish, so he would be an abused young boy who doesn't get to see what he wants to see.
But his reaction to the fish, regardless, was empathy at a really high level. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like that's just because the Doctor's there, because he's only just arrived. But it shows that young boy was full of empathy, and I don't really think it explains enough where that went or why. Because
it's clear when it changes. It's when he learns that Abigail's got the condition, and obviously she can only do like 1 day at a time.
Yeah.
And then he ends up working with his dad, and then he shoves the remaining half of the screwdriver in the desk and leaves it for 40 odd years.
Yeah, which is fine, but that's the second redone timeline. That's not the original one. I mean, like, when I'm talking about how over the top Kazwan is at the start of the episode, what happened between, I'm crying over a dead shark, I'm so empathetic, to, let the ship crash, I don't give a crap?
I'm going to presume it's like he worked with his dad and then obviously realised that life isn't fair, and obviously...
So show us that.
Miser.
So show us that. Show, don't tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it might have been a deleted scene. I don't know.
Maybe. Anyway, moving on, because I've got a lot of notes I'm trying to whiz through before we stay here forever. The direction of revealing the cryo chambers is excellent. They kind of pan out and everything. Again, we see through the mirror and everything first. It's all point of view. And the idea of being a lone shark for people is a kind of cool, creepy concept, which is a good bit of originality. The Murray Gold music is really cool in this scene. I think it's I Am the Doctor that they use. I could be wrong. It's one of those, though. And the other thing that I've noted, which is kind of a nerdy Easter egg type note, is the name Abigail Pettigrew for the character. Brought me to mind of a famous book there is that exists called Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day, which I think is perhaps a sly hint by Moffat of kind of what the storyline would be for that character. Could be a coincidence, but I very much doubt it. It seems like it would be a huge coincidence that they have that same name kind of thing, so... Anyway, Catherine Jenkins is absolutely perfect. Her carol singing is just stunning. It's brilliant. There's nothing I can really criticise about that. Even the direction is good at showing the kind of awe and love that's between those two characters. The direction and the acting sells that well enough, I think. Good music, good effects, good sort of shots of faces.
The only point is that I don't like her cover of In the Bleak Midwinter. That's it.
I do. I love that. That's what I was on about before. Okay, fair enough.
You don't like
That's the only sin for Jenkins, that's it.
Her cover of In the Bleak Midwinter, The Christmas Carol.
Oh, right,
When
okay.
she's singing to the shark, it just sounds a little bit off-key compared to what we get later at the end of the episode, which is her song.
Right. I do
Silence
disagree.
all around.
I think Catherine Jenkins put in a really almost a perfect performance. She was great. Even in retrospect, she didn't have much to do. Kind of just like it's more to do with the companionship between her and Kazran rather than her actually developing as a character, which I do think is a bit unfair. But there is, even if in an hour special, like an extended runtime, there's only so much you can do, and the focus is Kazran, not Abigail, which is a shame because I would have liked her character. It's like, oh, this guy has got a crush on this woman, and this woman just kind of concedes to her. It's a bit unfair, but.
So let me just quickly play this and ask if anyone else thinks this is bad or out of key.
It's beautiful.
It's great. I just want to listen to it now.
Yeah, we're gonna get copyright strike now.
Sorry, yeah, I'll shut it off. That was 30 seconds, so we should be fine. But yeah, no, I like that. that wasn't me meaning to attack Alexander and be mean. I just think that's really good. Personally,
We haven't been doing it to you, to be fair.
What's the word? I might revoke my comment, to be honest.
fair enough. That's awesome. Woo! A slight victory.
But then, related to
Not
that
rescinding the
scene,
snowman or last Christmas.
That's fine.
but the scene where the young Kazran and the Doctor are talking while Abigail sings, and then the Doctor kind of slaps himself, and then he writes it, and then Moffat writes it off as a fish biting him, and I don't see a fish, and I just think it's a bit lazy.
I think they forgot to CGI it in because he does that like 4 times.
Yeah, I think it was twice, about 2 times, and I was like, why did you play it like the first time? It doesn't explain it, and then the second time it explains it's a fish, and I thought there is no fish there.
Fighting.
Yeah, like at the start of the scene where they enter the room, there's fish going around the fog on the bottom, but then there's no flying fish, and then there's no flying fish when it bites in. So I just think it's Matt Smith slapping himself. And I think, why not just play it off like Neil did in The Doctor's Wife? Kind of, he slaps himself to, like, when he realizes something that he needs to snap himself into play. And I think that would have worked better. But the line that ruins it is, "There's a fish biting me," and it just doesn't work. It's very weird, but yeah. I love the whole
It's
movie.
supposed to feed into the idea that they're getting, for want of a better word, agitated by the music, and it's kind of provoking a response. But yeah, it does seem somebody forgot to actually CGI in a really small fish there, so it does just not work.
Mind you, it's Matt Smith though. It's a case of he's like a jack in the box for his energy.
But even without the fish, that like I said, it should have been portrayed like it was in The Doctor's Wife, since it shouldn't have been portrayed like that because it was meant to be a fish biting him, but there was no fish. So if there was no fish and that was intended, then they should have played it off like he's slapping himself to snap out of like a mood. He's got to snap into action. But yeah, that wasn't there. But we're getting caught up about Dam's fish bite.
But it's neither here nor there. Yeah, I've put the montage of all the Christmas Eves as a really good, again, direct decision and everything. It's a good way of using shorthand to develop a relationship. And that's when you get the ominous music and the numbers ticking down, which is really quite evocative. It's also, it's another sort of Moffat greatest hits moment, but at least we kind of allow it because they have Kazran wearing a fez, but it's fine. They're actually going to Egypt, so I forgive it. And if you're a huge Doctor Who nerd, yes, they do both wear scarves exactly when Abigail's counter reads 004, which I assume is a Tom Baker reference.
Which got me.
And also, just to pull it back, when the Doctor did say about the bow tie, because it's cool, then on Kazran is a flashback to him. And he's wearing a bow tie as well, so the Doctor has influenced him in that way.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, it was a main bit, but yeah, and also linking to that it's all the flashback scenes to old Kazran, especially near the end, where he goes to find the sonic screwdriver underneath all the new stuff in the drawer to get the doctor. And I'd have forwarded it on a bit, but that scene especially, and also the moment where he like takes a picture of Abigail as a young kid, and then as an old man, he kind of tries to find those pictures again, and he does, and it's such a really nice moment, and that links into the montage of all the Christmas Eves, and it's just like it's an old bloke just like revitalizing his past thoughts, and it's a beautiful moment. It's lovely.
Okay.
And the music's score for Marigold, superb.
Yeah, the music's great. I can't deny that. Yeah. Anyway, so then the next thing is the Shark Slayer, which I've literally just made a note because I'm really not sure how I feel. So I've said, is the Shark Slayer ridiculous, or is it just sold by the fact that it's the magic of Christmas and the music, so you kind of forgive it?
It's the second one, Mike. Just accept it, move on.
The first time is just a bit of fun, but then I did mention at the end where it kind of ends with Kazran and Abigail going on one final trip on the Shark, and it's like Kazran, they did it when he was a kid, and they also did it when they were adults on the final day, and it's like that's such a nice moment. It's Doctor Who fun. Like I said, if you can accept a big massive skeletal Cyberman going over London at Christmas, then you can accept a flying shark. It's a bit of fun.
Fair enough. The next thing's going to be controversial, and it was something I mentioned in chat. I find it incredibly icky that Abigail falls for a guy that she knew when he was a little boy, and the whole kind of ooh, Kazran, you've grown. It's a bit Woody Allen for me. I could have done without it.
Okay, so do you get the same impression when the roles are reversed in The Girl in the Fireplace? The doctor comes around. Oh, so you do also take a problem with that scene as well?
I don't. It's not a huge, massive problem, but it's just icky for me. But I almost stand for it more with the Doctor because he's always like that. He's always going to be like 1,000 years old to humans, as kind of whatever. Which doesn't excuse it, I suppose. It's still icky, but yeah, it's not a great look ever, and it reminded me of my biggest issue with Star Wars, the prequels, which does the same thing, where Natalie Portman meets little Anakin Skywalker as an 8-year-old, then in the next movie meets him again, and she's like, "Oh my, you've grown. Oh, I'm attracted to you," and it's kind of like this is icky. This is just a bit too weird for me,
No, I completely disagree.
Okay.
No, but I take it. I used to take issue with it, especially in The Girl in the Fireplace, because you kind of have this young girl, and then you just go around the fireplace again, and then you've got this really developed big woman, and then he kind of says, "Oh, how goodness have you grown?" And I think, that's just a weird line. Why did you write that with it?
It is, yeah.
And it was like, I know Sophie Miles is a pretty lady, but there's just a weird line to say, But then that's the Doctor saying it. But in this episode, The Christmas Carol, you have Abigail saying it to Kazran, so the Doctor's not even involved in this. And it's kind of like it's like his moment, because in every single time she's released, she says, "Oh, Doctor," and then it kind of goes on, and then there's one scene, like the penultimate one before that, she actually recognizes Kazran. Kazran's kind of like really sad, and he's got his head down. He's like, "She's here for the Doctor, not for me." And then in the very next scene, he's like smiles when she kind of recognizes him, and I think that it's a nice moment, but tacky.
Well, I don't want to get hung up on it.
But no, I don't see it as a problem, because it moves on. It moves swiftly on instead of them having to snog straight away, like in Going in the Fireplace.
Yeah, I don't want to get hung up. It's too icky for me, especially when you consider that she's literally, for her, it's kind of like the next day to when this guy was 8 years old or whatever, and it's not. It's just not.
It wasn't the next day. It was like.
Well, it was to her. I know it wasn't literally, but for her, she goes into the cryo chamber, wakes up.
It was about 6 days apart. So
it really wasn't. She only had 8 days to live at the start.
Yeah. And it showed him in the compilation of all of them growing old, and that's what I'm saying. They opened her up about 6 times, and then the 7th time, that was the one where they had the big adventure with Marilyn Monroe, that kind of stuff, and that's where the comment was said. So they had 7 or 6 full adventures with her.
So she had 7 days then?
Yeah, so they developed their relationship. If you meet a woman or a man, I don't judge, in real life, right, and then you like hit off straight away, you can have a relationship with someone after 7 days.
Yeah, but if I meet somebody who 7 years ago was, 12 years old, I probably wouldn't want to have a relationship with them.
Yeah, but then you've had certain days with this bloke growing up. You have some shots where he's about 15, 16, 17, and then you have him presumably about 20. So you've had these 6 years
Doesn't
with
make
her.
it better.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, never mind.
That makes it ickier, if anything. Oh, he's grown up with her. Like, oh.
Here's the thing as well. How long really is the span of time? Because obviously we see Caroline obviously aging. Are we definitely confirming days?
It says at the very start that she has 8 days to live. The counter on her tube says 008.
Right.
And during montage it goes down to at least 003 because it's 4 when they're wearing scarves and there's another year after that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, because at first I thought it was a slight continuity issue when I made a note, like, they're doing an awful lot. There's way too many pictures of them for the days they had, because they only actually would have had like 5 or 6 separate days. But then it occurred to me that like a day is 24 hours, they could do as much as they wanted in that day, so I'll forgive it.
The thing is with me, and this is the point I mentioned on Twitter, there's a problem that I've noted down 3 times with this episode, and you're going to say, but it's because of continuity. If the span of time goes by years, and I didn't know if it were years, why did the Doctor not fix his bleeding Sonic? It remained knackered for the rest of the episode. We know the TARDIS can rebuild it.
I assume he just kind of like, I think 1 year for Catran was 1 second for the Doctor. I think he just went year by year in the TARDIS.
Yeah,
so
the Doctor's
at the very end, he's still in this one adventure. This is like parallel to the Doctor, and then at the end, you have the Doctor saying, "You can have this other piece. I'm going to go fix it," and then he does by series 6.
It feeds into my next criticism, which is that the Doctor, everything that happens from his point of view, and it sets up at the start, not very clearly, is within an hour to him, relative to him, because he has an hour till the ship. So he has to have done all these days and whatever else within an hour.
Just procrastinated.
That's my point, is that it's not very well edited, because then you get the scene where he's kind of having Christmas dinner and chilling, and I'm like, have we just forgotten about the fact that there's a ship crashing at this point?
Yeah, basically.
Let's go marry Marilyn Monroe. Companions are in the sky.
The whole story about the unspoken rule, well, not the unspoken rule, just the rule in general. You can't cross your own timelines. The Doctor must have done it about 10 dozen times in this episode. Jeez. But then, what do you mean? How come? Because
how does he cross himself? I don't get that.
Because he has full days with Abigail. Yeah, he's only got an hour to save him, so he must go into the future.
He's got a time machine.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the rule. You can't cross your own timeline. You can't go back in time to do something, and he does that. He goes in the future to save the past, and then he goes into the past to save the future.
But he's not crossing a previous version of himself. It's just that he's got a time machine, so he could go and live out 100 years and then turn back up a second later, and he still hasn't done anything wrong per se. He's just to him 100 years have passed, but the TARDIS can still arrive a second after he left. It's fine. But my issue is more of an emotional thing, is like, Doctor, dude, tension, a little bit of, there's a ship crashing, calm down, get on with it.
I really like the whole
thing. The thing is, anyway, he does cross over his time stream about 2 series later when he saves Gallifrey. So that's a great
He does it anyway. He does it in Smith and Jones for the sake of a cheap gag. He says it himself.
Whoa, this has backfired on me. I was saying that to defend your criticisms. You were saying about emotion, about how does this work, and I was just giving my input, and then you're backfiring it on me. So yes, that works, because I was literally defending your criticism. So yeah,
You've literally
fixed your criticisms. So yeah.
No, my criticism still stands in that the Doctor, yes, can live out as long as he wants, but I'm saying it for the purposes of this adventure, the director and editor seem to want the audience to forget that there's any kind of stakes and any tension. And if it was me and I was writing/directing this episode, just one quick scene inserted here as we're forgetting about the actual threat. I mean, it comes later on, but I just think there's too big of a gap between those scenes where it's like
before the whole story starts, Amy says, "Please don't get distracted," and then he does. He says, "A Christmas Carol," and then there's got to be some festivities. You've got to have a Christmas dinner or something like that. Like
but I'm saying
like in the Runaway Brides, there's literally no reference to. It's all dark. It's all this bloke wasn't what he was meant to be, but they still ended with an offer of Christmas dinner. It's got to be Christmas. There's got to be snow. You can't just have we're all gonna die. There's a spaceship. You've got to have this kind of stuff.
But looking at it from the point of view of examining the structure of a story, like I said, at this point, it's not reminding you enough what your stakes are and what he's sort of fighting for. It just becomes like, hang on, why are we?
But this is like I said earlier, it's not enough character development for Abigail. So if you didn't have the scene with her family and like, that's Catherine's boy, and then
you've misunderstood. I don't want them to remove that scene. I want them to put a scene in at some point in all of this sort of living these lives.
Okay, that's fair.
Just cut back to the ship. Not show the Doctor or anything. Show us, the audience. There's still a ship crashing. They're still trying something. This is still our stakes. Just remind us what we're in there for.
I didn't notice that. That's not really a problem for me, but yeah, fair enough.
I think it goes a little bit too long without cutting back to what your actual main focus of your plot is, for me. But that could just be me.
To me, the main plot of the episode isn't so much the ship, it's about Abigail. And
that's the main conflict, though. That's the conflict that everything revolves around. Like the whole point, the whole reason the Doctor is trying to change Kazran.
Spend a long time on it to develop the story.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, that is your inciting incident, so you can't just have it set up and then ignore it until it's resolved. You've got to keep coming back to it. And again, they do. It's just they leave it a little bit too long for me. So, anyway, moving on. I still think I want to. What? I wanted to note that whoever did the lighting for the story is brilliant. Atmosphere of especially the planet streets, the sort of fog and the light, I think, is brilliant. I really like the line about I don't know exactly, but when Kazran's sort of asking the Doctor about kissing, and he says you may as well just be fumbling and terrible. You're going to be like that anyway, so just make it part of the plan. I think is great.
Also, before the Christmas dinner scene, it kind of explains that. Well, not explains it, but it's another similar moment where he asks the Doctor, "What should I do when a woman cries?" And then the Doctor kind of returns and he says, "I have absolutely no idea." And I burst out laughing, and it was such a funny moment.
Yeah. I'm going to probably get a little bit too sort of film geeky here, but I've also said that there's an awful lot of deliberate sort of scenes through windows and mirrors, and I think that as far as I can tell, I think it's to set up that there's a disconnection there. Even when people are almost together, there's something in the way, which can be like a pane of glass or whatever. So even in that scene when you have Abigail crying as she's watching her family, it's because she's separated by that window, and yet I think it's deliberate that the Doctor just doesn't acknowledge any such things, so he's just barging straight in, because he can kind of cross between those worlds. He just will always connect with things because he's the Doctor, and yet later on you have the scene where he appears at Kazran's window and Kazran deliberately shuts him out, like fully, like shutting the window and ignoring him.
That was such excellent direction.
I think it's brilliant. That's how I read it anyway. And there's a scene later on, to skip slightly ahead, where you see Kazran and Abigail reflected side by side in her little porthole of her cryo chamber. But obviously they're not together. They're separated by the glass, but they are side by side. So it's kind of like they want the connection there, but something's in there, which again I think is really awesome sort of shorthand directing for what's happening in the story at that point.
Yeah. Just going back a bit, Xander, do you have anything to say up to this point?
No, I think you've addressed all the main points.
Okay. Well, then I'll take it back just to the pool scene, where it's like, I know this is going to be another moment that you may not like, the kissing gag, where like they're kissing, and then the doctor goes behind him and then like, how do you do this? Do you breathe through your ears? And I just think that's a funny moment.
It.
Yeah, and then it's like, Marilyn Monroe, get your coat, and it's like,
fine, I'll get married then. Marilyn, get your coat.
Yeah, and it's like, I see what you do about that, and then he kind of straightens his jacket like a really aggressive shunt off, and then he kind of walks off, and then they talk, and then it's like, what do we do?
Matt Smith, man, he's brilliant.
Matt Smith.
Here's the thing as well, they're in 1952.
Yeah.
That scene is in 1952, which he then mentions at the start of the episode is where he met Santa Claus and Frank Sinatra's hunting lodge.
Yeah.
So they're in the same year.
That was
He probably went back there deliberately, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And then, I really like that moment. And then when the altercation between Kazran and the Doctor, which does feed into the next scene you were talking about, and the Doctor kind of says, "Why are you not telling me?" And then you can see Kazran is like really standoffish. And then when he actually leaves the room, the Doctor's really emotional. He's kind of like dropped face. He says, "The time has changed, but not as much as I hoped." And then you have Kazran's grief. When it kind of shifts, he leaves the room, he closes the door really aggressively, and then he turns around and he's crying, and it's such a lovely moment.
It's summed up perfectly by a line, again skipping slightly ahead later on, where Amy says the, again repeating phrase from Series 5, which is time can be rewritten, and Kazran's response is, you tell the Doctor from me, people can't, which I think is an excellent like summation of it's the end of Act 2 conflict. It's like you've done everything right and yet, oh crap, we're still back, we haven't come any further than we should.
And I just want to say Michael Gambon's acting here, where he's kind of just dealing with the Doctor changing his past, because the Doctor did mention it as a kid when he was in the room with the kid at the start about the lady thing, and basically what he was saying was the Doctor has changed my past, and Amy said, is that not good? And then he says, he's in a shop and he says, just no, it's not, because this and this and this. And then in the next scene right there next together again, the Doctor kind of says, I'm sorry, and then that's the moment where he meets his past self, and then he's kind of like, you have to meet, do you want this to be the person you become? And then if I can talk about that scene just briefly, where he goes to hit the child, I'm not sure, I don't know why he wanted to do that. Like, why did he want to hit the kids when throughout the episode he's been sympathizing with him? And I thought that was such a weird moment. But then after that, when he actually it's just a scene to like finish off the story with his dad, because his dad comes back and he kind of has a problem with his dad, and then this scene where he embraces his former self is like him coming to peace with him. But then the whole concept of that, like, why is he going to hit his former self, I just don't understand. But then he breaks down and he cries and then he hugs him, and I said in my summary, it's like a short-lived moment, but it's so nice just having that embrace. And it's like the Doctor kind of snaps out of it before it can go on for too long, and he says, Kazran, we don't have much time. And then it just leads into the final act so brilliantly, and I just had to get that off my chest. Beautiful.
Okay,
I love this episode.
Let me just... I'll go slightly back because I'll catch up to where you are in my notes. I've put that when kind of Kazran, it's awesome as well, by the way, the writing decision to keep the truth about Abigail from the audience, but just point out that there's something ominous. So the first time you watch it, you don't know either why Kazran's kind of regressed, but obviously it's just the Christmas Carol idea, and that's the kind of lost love. It's exactly the same as Scrooge's backstory, but that's why Kazran kind of feels bitter towards the Doctor, because he points out, like, I would never have even known Abigail if you hadn't interfered. So he's kind of responsible for making him fall in love and everything, and for the person he became in this version of the timeline. So he kind of blames the Doctor for being mean, even though he was to start with. Did I mention the screen and the lighting and such as he kind of changes back to his sort of mean ways? The screen literally gets colder as we go from sort of that past to the future, and Kazran's been old and hasn't lived his last day with Abigail, so he's sad, so it goes from sort of warm tones and light to literally kind of blue and frost on the lens and stuff. It's great that we see Amy and Rory. It's a little bit too late, but yes, they do turn up. They become the Ghost of Christmas Present, singing carols and everything. Very emotive. The use of holograms to be ghosts, I think, is actually a clever use of the sci-fi twist to the tale. I've said all the acting here is completely faultless. The Ghost Future Past being younger Sardan is an awesome twist again. Really clever, where the writing kind of sparks for me. Kazran thinking he's his dad is a cool idea, as is the decision to kind of show his entire life in monochrome as a kind of flashback, to show that it's a catalyst for his change. But I do think it's a little bit too quick and seemingly unconnected. Like, it doesn't fully explain that motivation, which I think was more or less what you were saying. Like, I don't see how that changes him so much that later the controls don't even work for him. It's like that was a second.
The moment I do like, but then the scene where it like kind of changes him, I don't like that bit. Sorry, Xander, go for it.
Yeah, this was the point I was going to say. So the controls are not responding because the Doctor because he's changed him too much. That is a complete. That won't work. No. Because the thing is, it's tuned to Kazran, so surely it would still recognise him by facial, fingerprint, that sort of stuff.
It's tied to his brain. That they specifically say it's tied into his brain waves, and because his way of thinking has changed, which has changed him too much.
It still wouldn't work though.
I mean, if it's tuned to his brainwaves, then it'll recognise that he's changed, and then he's good, and then he doesn't have any evil intent.
Yeah. My issue with that more is it's 2 seconds. Like, he would have been fine, he's as mean or whatever, then the Doctor shows him his sort of younger self and whatever, and then like that he's like, oh, I've completely changed. And I'm like, what no, give me a bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Linking back to the go for it. But I was going to mention
I was just going to say, but I do think it's clever subversion that you think that this has resolved the plot, and then Moffat kind of is like, nope, the controls don't work anyway, so it doesn't matter, ignore it. So so it's like, crap, okay.
Yeah, and another one moment that I was like, okay, this is a bit weird, where like Abigail touches old Kazran's face, and then the young Kazran kind of just pretends to put his hand on his face as well to have that sensation, whatever. And I just think that's a bit weird. Why did you do that?
I get it. It's to show the emotion he's feeling is linked in that way.
But if it was teenage Kazran, I could see it. But kid Kazran, he's just Mare. It's just a bit undeveloped by that point, and I think why would you do that? But yeah,
I think it feeds into young Kazran being lonely and never feeling connected to his classmates, and sort of never having abuse at home and stuff. So it's kind of like, oh crap, I am gonna have connection in some way, you know. Yeah. But anyway, nice maybe I'm feeding into it too much.
No, you're feeding into my brain to all the negatives that I've said so far. You've just combined all of them and said, no, this is the reason. It's making me appreciate the episode more. But then there's some stuff that I just can't forgive, like we've mentioned, just like Xander says, the controls, the isomorphic not responding, that moment, even if they was kind of described by the brainwave stuff, it's just not developed enough. It's just kind of cheap.
Yeah, there's a few like that. Yeah, like I said, even this kind of switch from I'm mean again because I've only got one day with Abigail to oh crap, I've almost hit my younger self. It's too quick and abrupt and kind of not developed enough for me either. But you know, I get it. It's the end of the episode. We've got to wrap things up. So okay, I did put as well that I don't entirely buy that he'd sacrifice his last day with Abigail to save the ship. Now all of a sudden, it's too big of a change. But my next note was F bleep me though. The acting's good enough that it sells it. So screw it. I'll buy it.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
it does work. It does work. It's got to move on somehow. And Michael Gambon was excellent. And then when the TARDIS dematerializes, the music ramps up and then he just waves away, and I think that's such a nice conclusion to like the whole story, the Christmas Carol. The adaptation they've done to this story is so good. I know you've made your criticisms very clear, but I do think this is such a great adaptation of the iconic story. And
I've only got I've only got 5 more notes, so I'll whiz through because it's just past 2 o'clock. So I will just say that the iconic song, Fair enough. The song is perfection. And it's brilliant. It's a great idea. It was a genius idea to get an opera singer because you knew this moment was coming. But Katherine Jenkins is more than a good enough actress as well. But you know, this is her bread and butter. It's what she does for a living. So I think it's gorgeous. You can't really criticize it. And yes, nerdy Easter egg. He does make a lot of references to silence. We get it.
Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't pick up on that the first time I watched it. I didn't pick up on that at all. No,
wow. Okay, I did straight away, but that's because I was being geeky and looking for it because they mentioned it so many times in Pandorica and Big Bang. It did pay it off, and I'm like, what the heck is all this?
The next series revolves around it.
It does, to be fair, though, resolve it. It explained it in episode 1 of Series 6, so it's not like they keep it going on forever, so that's good.
It's a shame because they don't ruin them, but they do take a nosedive in the Time of the Doctor. I wish they hadn't kept this.
I don't agree. I think they explain it well enough for me.
No. But in the Time of the Doctor, the Silence have the Dalek stalks coming out their eyes. They're not villains. They're kind of worshippers, and it's purple mainframe. And I think, why didn't you just have them as villains that kept on glued onto like the top of ceilings? And I was just like, they shouldn't have done that to the Silence. They were such great villains, and then they kind of just downplayed them.
Okay, well, so I'm down to 4 notes, so I've said yes, again, related back to the kind of greatest hits things. We have the Doctor making it snow again. We've done that in every Christmas special.
What happens when you unlock clouds? Snow. That was such a great bit of dialogue. Like, what happens if you unlock clouds? Of course, you get rain, snow, and yeah. Beautiful moment, beautiful.
Yeah, the shot compositions, particularly at the end here, are iconic. Every one of them could be a cool little postcard. I think it's awesome. The emotion of Christmas is kind of, you get swept up in it, but then I had an issue that I mentioned earlier. It's such a sad and downer ending. By my read, the way that I read it, is that like I don't get the whole thing of, oh, she's only got one day to live. Oh well, things would have to end and nothing would get started, and it's like, that's so miserable. It's Christmas. Just come up with some.
But then the music becomes happy again, and then you shoot to them. It's like a high up scale because the Matt Smith, Amy closes the door, and then the Doctor looks up smiling, and then you have the screams, the happy, joyous screams of Catherine and Abigail in the TARDIS, on the flying
in the sleigh, yeah,
on the sleigh with the flying shark, and then they're just happy, they're ecstatic, and they're ending their day. With a throwback. It's such a lovely moment, and it's
a lovely moment, but it's not going to be lovely in 24 hours when she's dead.
You utter buzzkill!
But that's you, because you said it ends on a sad moment, and I think, no, it's a bittersweet moment that ends on a really happy moment, and you're just making it sad because you know what's going to happen. But it kind of touched upon that, but then they don't actually show it as like a sad. They show it as bittersweet, and then they end it very final scene with a very happy moment. So I do disagree with that.
I don't buy it. Like I said, it's hard for me to feel the joy of that scene when they've signposted to you entirely. Yeah, enjoy it. You're going to be dead. So it's you know, I'm sure they could have written in. Yeah, some people might have complained, but they could have written in like, oh, whatever's wrong with Abigail, the Doctor's travelled to some planet or whatever that can cure it, and it's Christmas, so yay, have a good time, and you know, saved her. So as opposed to just like, oh well, enjoy your last day on Earth.
Xander, what are you thinking?
The fact is, I love the ending. The thing is, the fact that Mike is just turning it deliberately negative, the fact is that she's going to die in 24 hours, turns it into the proper Scrooge. It's a case of just accept it. They're having fun. If you were with your beloved on Christmas, what would you want to do on Christmas if you were with your beloved?
A throwback to the past. They like I said earlier, he was a kid when that happened, and then you have a complete contrast. You have him as an old man. It ends bittersweet, and then it goes up, and then you have him ecstatically happy, and I don't know how you're seeing the negatives from that. It's such a lovely moment.
It's the dialogue and writing part of things. I get what you're saying, but for me it just wasn't. It was hard for me to see past the kind of, like I said, it's the fact that we get that scene where Amy's like, today will be her last day, and the Doctor's like, yeah, but you know, everything has to end, and it's like, oh, that's such a downer. Do you know what I mean?
But he says everything's got to get started. Everything's got to end because otherwise nothing would get started. So that's the very final bit of dialogue. Nothing would get started. I know it's not the very final, but it's the moment the sentiment is there with Amy. That's how he ends the dialogue with her. So I again disagree.
I could have done with better, but that's just me anyway. So yeah, then the very last note I've said is that they reiterate the key theme, which is halfway out of the dark. Fine, I get it, but yeah.
All right.
Okay. It's beautiful and it's lovely, but when you look at it, it doesn't make a ton of sense. So anyway, moving on.
So in what do you call it? The Runaway Brides, the ash being snow makes sense, does it? It's Christmas, man. It's a lovely bit of dialogue. Accept it, like Xander said. It's a lovely moment.
I like it as an explanation for kind of Christmas, but it's just like referring to Kazran as being, halfway out the dark, cool. It's like,
okay,
fair enough.
The Ash was Christmas Invasion, not Runaway Bride.
True, yeah.
Crash ship for the invasion. TARDIS made it in Runaway Bride, and it was the exhaust in Voyage of the Damned.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Snow for 3 years in a row.
And it was actual snow in the next Doctor.
No, I was right, because there's a bit of dialogue, because the Doctor starts the snow and he says this isn't real snow.
No, that's Christmas Invasion.
It happens in both. It's artificial snow in the Runaway Bride. He says
it was in Runaway Bride, and I know this because I'm just geeky enough to know it. He says it's atmospheric excitation. So he does exactly what happens at Christmas Carol. He basically agitates the clouds until it snows.
Because
it is real.
TARDIS.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't. Oh, never mind. Like I said, it's just let's sweep it under the carpet. Otherwise, we'd be here all day talking. Just
never mind.
Yeah.
So, who wants to give their conclusion and score first of all? Then
I think Mike should go first. Because
me?
Yes, I think you should go first.
Oh.
My mace is around your head.
Okay, let me read. I've got a very long conclusion, which I don't normally do, but I had a lot of thoughts, so let's just go with it. A story that tries every trick in the book to manipulate your emotions, but by golly, 90% of the time it really works. The dialogue is better than the overall plot, which seems frequently like a lot of thinly recycled cliches. It veers a little too far into cheesy at first, and a slow start only finds its footing when the Doctor is on screen, but Matt Smith is pitch perfect, as are all the actors involved. The acting and the lines had me close to tears more than once, and when Moffat touches on themes of empathy, love, compassion and heart, it's incredibly affecting, but outside of the scenes doesn't really seem to have anything profound to say. The traditional story's twisted into sci-fi by Moffat cleverly, but it's too familiar to be truly unique. The music, visuals and effects, though, are faultless, and there are moments of sublime beauty and an overall feeling that captures the spirit of Christmas, here through melancholy but with the comfort of love in darkness. Sadly, it wastes the Doctor's actual companions and ends with such a downer that I personally find hard to like. Likewise, the lack of a real monster and the bizarre inclusion of flying fish hurt the episode in my view as well. But there's lots to like in this emotive winter's tale. Enjoy it with a mince pie and a glass of sherry when you're halfway out of the dark. And my score was 6.5 out of 10.
You know, I can hear the rioters just outside now.
Jesus, Wally, fuck.
What? It's like 3.5 stars out of 5.
5, you Scrooge!
Man,
Sorry.
that is harsh. That is harsh.
It's not.
That is. Oh, Xander, do you want to go next, mate?
What's your highest score on the current leaderboard so far? What star is it number 1?
Human Nature, which came to a 9 out of 10. Human Nature, the Family of Blood came out to a 9 out of 10. That's number 1.
I'm going 9.5 for Christmas Carol.
Do you have like a review?
So, there are elements that doesn't make it a perfect 10, as we've discussed. It's still my favourite Christmas special of all time, no matter what Mike thinks. And I'll be sending a flying fish to his house after this. there's a few continuity areas. I mean, one quick point as well. So you know when the two Kazrans are in the thingy together, the old one and the young one. Putting that, there's a few tiny errors, but at the end of the day, it doesn't faze me. So my overall 9.5 for Christmas Carol.
That's fair enough. Okay. Here's my ending summary. I put Smith, Gambon, Jenkins, and Belcher are all fantastic. Belcher playing the young Kazran. I wasn't that keen on teenage Kazran or like / adult Kazran, but there we go. I said they're all fantastic, as are the entire cast. The flying shark is, despite what anyone says, a nice touch, despite the fact that it was meant to be dying throughout the whole episode, and how it was incorporated into the ending was very swell. The story itself was very good, and Moffat proved why he deserves the praise that he still gets today. Incorporating past, present, and future into a sci-fi gem is essential viewing for anyone listening. Though the latter two of, like, the past, present, and future, the latter two were barely touched upon, and I do think the present was kind of tacky, how they were singing, and there was meant to be about 4,000 people on the ship, yet only about 20 people were actually singing. I think it was a bit hit or miss for that one. See what I did there? However, Kazran hugging his younger self while crying while short-lived was a great way to end. Going back to Smith, in retrospect, this was one of the strongest performances he had in the entire show. He absolutely nailed it. As for Jenkins, she is a wonderful, wondrous actress and singer, also wonderful. I say she out-acts Kylie Minogue, dare I say. And this is one of the best Christmas specials. I would give A Christmas Carol also a 9.5 out of 10. Bringing the average score up to an 8.5, which scores the same as Class and it rates below Death of the Doctor, which I'm very sad about, but there we go. I know.
I can't believe you just criticised something and then only knocked half a point off perfect.
Thank you,
that doesn't make any sense.
Dragging it down.
Dude, I literally spoke to you yesterday about the you said I was being negative about certain stuff, and then I literally went through every single bit that you were on about, and I thought, no, this was how you interpreted it wrong. This was how you interpreted it wrong. And then I replied to you saying all the positives. I'll go through the list again. You said the introduction scene.
No.
I said the tonally shift was a bit jarring, but I still don't mind it. Joe Graham was good.
I'm not interested in Death of the Doctor. I'm saying that your conclusion that you just read out had an awful lot of criticisms for only knocking 0.5 off perfect.
I will go through again. Smith, Gambon,
do you want me to re-mention it? Because I was listening.
Smith, Gambon, Jenkins, Belcher are all fantastic, as are the entire cast. The flying shark, despite what anyone says, is a nice touch.
Okay,
And it was meant to be dying, but how it was incorporated into the ending was very swell, which means good. It was lovely. The story itself was very good, and Moffat proves why he deserves the praise that he still gets today, incorporating past, present, and future. And I did mention that the present bit was a bit off.
That's a negative,
yeah, that's one negative. However, Kazran hugging his younger self whilst crying, whilst short-lived, was a great way to end. Going back to Smith...
Okay, so that's another negative, because you've said it's too short-lived.
No, it wasn't. I said whilst short-lived, it was a great way.
You skipped over mentioning that you didn't like Teenage Kazran, which is another criticism.
I said, while short-lived, it was a great way to end. Going back to Smith, this was the strongest performances. He absolutely knows it. As for Jenkins, she is a wondrous actress and singer. I'd say she out-acts Kylie Minogue. One of the best Christmas specials. I'd give it a 9.5. Dude, you were being so positive. You were saying you said 90% of the time it hits well, and you gave it a 6.5. Why didn't you say it worked 65% of the way?
No, exactly. You just completely hounded it.
Yeah. We'll agree to disagree with our reviews, because I think that was incredibly harsh. 6.5. That's like a 3.25 out of 5. That's so harsh.
Oh, that's not harsh. 3.25 out of 5 is not a bad score for anything. Come on. It's not like it was, it was still above 5, put it that way, quite significantly.
Truly is the Grinch here. 2 heart sizes too small.
When the Class episode comes out, more people will be saying 6 out of 10 than saying 10 out of 10. And with this episode, I assure you, most people are going to be saying 9/10 out of 10.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
that doesn't make them right.
No, I'm just saying it's the opinions.
What's the same with people who like Last Christmas then, in that case?
Of course, it's all opinions. I'm just saying that you didn't answer any of my criticisms with anything to disregard them.
Yes,
so then you can't really complain that I've knocked points off
criticism. You've got to listen to this back, because every single criticism we combated, and I think we combated it well. But there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you want me to go through them? Because I'm curious here.
Okay.
I've said...
Make this good, and then hopefully he brings up his score.
So I've said the dialogue's better than the overall plot, which means the plot is not good. It's frequently a lot of thinly recycled cliche. Okay? It is. It's a Christmas Carol. It's exactly the same story. It veers too far into cheesy, especially at the start. It's only really finds its footing when the Doctor appears. You know, I think that's fair.
No.
Really?
It's not. How is it cheesy? What bits are cheesy, man? I don't understand. Which bits are cheesy?
It's so cheesy. Everything from the whole, like, oh, Christmas is cancelled, oh, yeah, boo, yeah, and to, you know, Kazran's like, oh, don't worry about it, the ship, it's not going to land on my house, I'm mean, grr. No, it's cheesy for me. It just is. Let me just think of my other criticisms while I'm here. Yeah, it's great touching on all of the Kree themes, but it doesn't really seem to have anything profound to say. You know, love exists, so does death. Great. Let's see. The story's too familiar to be truly unique. The companions are completely wasted. I just do not. I remember even thinking that at the time, like, why are Amy and Rory not in this? They're supposed to be the regular companions. And the ending, we've already discussed in depth. I just found too much of a downer. There's no real monster, which hurts it. The flying fish, I just don't connect to it. It doesn't work for me. So yeah, those are my criticisms. Sorry. Oh no, am I here?
Yes, you are there. Out? No, you haven't. We're in disbelief. We're in disbelief.
It's not like I didn't have criticism and then was still like, boo.
We spoke about this yesterday. You did say that you kept pausing it to, you know, get certain bits. Just sit down, watch the entire episode back to front, and then review more than once. You said earlier you kept pausing it to get certain bits of dialogue extracted, and I think just sit down, click play, and just enjoy the episode.
But that's you being manipulated, though. If an episode isn't good enough that you can, do you know what I mean? I'll just get sucked up into the emotion of it, and you'll not care about the flaws. The flaws are still there.
So you can make a note of that, because I freestyled this today. Yeah, I could still see the continuity errors. I still saw the problems. Yeah. When, like we spoke yesterday, like I said, when people are on their phone, for example, and they're distracted, they get out of the immersiveness of the episode. So how can you expect to enjoy it?
Yeah, fair enough, but I do disagree, because like I said, I've seen this episode multiple times. It's probably the Christmas special I've seen the most, and I just think the impact lessens every time for me.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Sander, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, apart from the fact is I need to send a shark over to Mike's house.
I don't think it was that bad. It was, in a hit or miss scale, it was still a fairly substantial hit. It wasn't like I gave it like a 4. Do you know what I mean?
No, but the thing is, your score was so low, it even stunned the host of this.
Please, he does that all the time.
Do I?
Yeah.
Apart from that, though, no other points. Just watch it again, Mike.
Yes, watch it again.
I don't think I was that negative. I think you guys are being over the top with regard to it. Well, I could understand your point if I was like, it's a miss, I'm giving it below a 5, but you know.
I put out a poll saying A Christmas Carol, great, good, bad, really bad. 8 votes so far, all 8 saying great.
Awesome.
There you go.
My point, exactly. Well, guys,
I mean, to be fair, 6.5 I would probably say is the higher end of good if you're going on that scale, so why would I be mad about that?
How can you say 6.5 out of 10 is good? 7 out of 10 would be good, 6 would be above average, 5 would be average. How is that upper scale of good? Upper scale of good would be 7.5. touching on it.
No, because I would say you've got to break it. You've given it 4 parameters, so you break it down into 4 lots of 2.5, which means anything above 7.5 is excellent. You know, a 5 to 7.5 is good. 2.5 to 5 is poor, and
so
then the worst is 0 to 2.5.
7 to 7.5, you just said would be good, and you rated it as 6.5. So how can you say your score? Of
No, I said 5 to 7.5. 5 to 7.5 would be good,
right, so
and I went 6.5.
So you're right in the middle, and you're saying it's the upper end of good. No,
Well,
it would be above
if you're
average.
rounding it up, it gets rounded up. Okay.
Okay, well, Christmas Carol, 8 votes so far. Everyone said great. I'm telling you, when this...
Of course it did.
What do you mean, of course it did?
Well, it's a very well-regarded episode, but I don't think that takes away from the criticisms that you could see if you're looking. You know what I mean?
Well, I put the poll on for 5 minutes, and there's 1 minute left. So unless Mike quickly goes over to Twitter now and says,
I'm not even gonna do that. I don't care enough. To be perfectly honest.
"Oh dear, I knew we were going to have
It's
arguments
not
about
going to be a
this."
popular opinion. I know everyone loves the episode, but I think you're being manipulated by goodwill, personally. So. Ooh, silence.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to this episode. Thanks, Sander, for coming on and helping out. And he's got something to say. Go for it.
Yes, I have. Yes, I've got a mini special Christmas message for one of the hopeful listeners who's still here. It's my good friend Freya, actually. Just hope that you have a really fantastic Christmas. You're an amazing person who I've had an absolute pleasure of meeting so far in Huddersfield, and I really hope we can meet up again continually in 2021.
Ooh.
Ooh, nice. Love connections.
Getting on.
We're massive fans. We cosplay and everything, and hopefully watch parties and everything.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, the poll has concluded, and it's got a total of 9 votes. 7 people said great. 1 person said good. 1 person said really bad.
I think I know who that 1 person is, though, to be fair.
Either you or Paul Morris.
It's not me, so it's definitely Paul Morris.
I assume it's Paul, yeah. But there we go. 7 out of 9 people said great, so yeah. And then also, what would you rate the Snowman out of 10? Xander said 3, Oswin Coleman said 10, and Adam Peckett said 11.
Nice.
And then I said, which story do you prefer for the story, for the recording we're doing right now? And then 66% has said Last Christmas. That got 47 votes. So yeah.
Do you know what? I'm annoyed at myself, and as it's Christmas and this is going out 5 days before Christmas, you can knock my score up to a 7 out of 10. Maybe I was a bit harsh, but I'm not going above a 7.
Yes.
0.5.
7.5, Mike. Come on.
No.
0.5.
No, I'm not going 0.5.
Come on.
I think 7 is as high as I'm prepared to go.
Alright, so 7, that brings it up to an 8. Oh, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. It's only a 0.1 difference. That brings it up to 8.66, which is still below Death of the Doctor, which, yeah.
Okay.
They're both very good stories, but yeah. Okay, well, Merry Christmas, everyone. This is going on 5 days before Christmas, and it was just us arguing festive joy.
Merry Christmas.
Alright, Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks, Sandra, for coming on. I hope that was enjoyable for you.
No problem. I'll be glad to come back. Glad to come back and do more.
100%. We'll have you back. Oh, man. Maybe not in
I feel really bad because I hate the idea of being the bloomin' Scrooge and the Grinch of this 5 days before Christmas when people are listening.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, see you guys in a bit. Catch the next episode on the 27th of December where we'll hopefully be with Nathan, aka the Gallifreyan. Till then, see you guys in a bit. Peace out.